Welcome in to Ramon, Kayla, and Will on this cold but always beautiful morning in Middle Tennessee. Welcome in from wherever you're listening to Ramon, Kayla, and Will this morning. We call it Friday Junior on this show just to get the people a little bit more excited because we're that close to the weekend. And, of course, we're always brewed up by our good friends at 8th and Roast. 8th and Roast coffee cultivating community by the cup. You can find your favorite retail bag pretty much anywhere now. Kroger, Publix, Whole Foods, and 4 locations around Middle Tennessee. Alongside our 11-year NFL veteran, it is Ramon Foster.
Hey.
And then we've got our guy, Robert Walsh, spinning the hits, making it happen behind the glass. And I want to tell you this, Robert Walsh. My husband said not to call you Bert Bert. He thinks that was annoying when I called you Bert Bert.
What?
No.
I'm coming at him this morning at 6:01.
Go ahead.
Travis
Right?
not that guy.
He goes, don't call him Bert Bert. That sounds funny. I said, step down, boy.
Yeah, what do you want? Come on, Travis.
I said,
I
that's
like Bert Bert.
right? I was like, we've done Baby Bert. We've done Bert Bert. I'm like, and that's the one you're going to pick on the most. Bert Hawkinson. And Travis is listening. He listens every morning.
Did he give you
Travis.
an alternative, like something
No.
else you should get? See,
So
that's,
he needs to then, if he's going to sit there and
That's what I'm
criticize
saying.
my nicknames.
Cheyenne told me that I'm not allowed to complain unless I offer a solution. So now, every time I complain, I come in with a solution. So that way, there ain't nothing going
Exactly.
on. But I'm down with Bert Bert. Bert Bert's cool with me.
See, Travis, I told you.
Bert
It's
Bert
cool
sounds
with
like
him.
a cool grandpa. Like
It
I want to go
does.
stay with my Bert Bert.
I hate both of y'all and Travis too this morning. I hate
It got us going this morning.
The Three Stooges this morning.
Right?
I'm not included in this one this time. Hate every single one of y'all,
Oh, my
man.
goodness.
I'm going to Pawpaw's Bert Bert
I'm
house.
going to Bert Bert's house.
Go to Pawpaw Bert
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 Bert's.
house. Bring all my
Oh,
Bert babies
goodness.
over here.
Right.
Here, son, hold my finger.
It's the Bert's babies.
Oh, my goodness. I'm Kayla Anderson. Will Bowling has the day off, and we've got plenty to talk about this morning. Oh, my goodness. Hopefully we got you laughing, and it's not even 6:05 yet, so we've accomplished that goal this morning. Got lots of good stuff coming up. 6:20, get into a really interesting article with The Athletic, the nicest and then the most weird and arrogant coaches in the college football world. This was a poll taken anonymously at the Under Armour All-American game.
Yeah.
So that's a really interesting one. Some SEC coaches in the mix there, including
And even
Coach
more
Heupel.
to that article, too. Your hype made
Yes.
it, but the NIL stuff
There's
that
so
guys
much.
were getting, there's a lot.
We could
in this
literally do a
article.
show on this, but we'll have you at least know where the article is so you can go get all the other goodies that is dished in this one because it is a really interesting article. 7:20, Coach Mack joining us. We always appreciate him on a Thursday. And then Sam Monson, our buddy from PFF, he's
Yeah.
going to be here to talk about all the NFL headlines, playoffs coming up. And then we'll pick his brain a little bit about the Titans because I know he was one of the guys that warned us coming into the season about this offensive line. They graded the line pretty low, and it looks like it ended up being right where
Yes, they did.
I should say, expected it to be. And the Thursday 3, 9:20, we will attempt to make you money. Let's just say this is a warning. It didn't go great last week. Bert was okay. Us three, Will, Ramon, and Kayla, not so much. We'll tell you those numbers coming up a little bit later in the show. But how's everybody doing? All I have to say is we got a text last night from Ramon, and it was hilarious because he was like, we've got to talk about this. And when I saw what it was, I was literally rolling, and I was scrolling through the pictures because the Stanley Cup, and no, not the NHL Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
The Stanley Cup
God.
is a very popular item nowadays in this world. So much so, guys, that it's starting brawls.
Yes.
What are we doing here, people?
I knew Yeti was on to something. Like I knew, like, I'm a Yeti. You look in my cupboard at the house, man, and I ain't the only one. I know I can't be the only one. I've gifted Yetis. I've had them personalized. I've had all of them. But boy, a big dog came to town, and his name was Stanley. Stanley came to town, man, and it has been nothing but a whirlwind ever since. There's a limited edition Stanley Cup that was released, I think, at Target or Target, however y'all want to call this thing, man. The thing sold out in 4 minutes. They said, like it's shoes. Like Kayla, like it's food. Like
it's a cup, right? To keep water in.
And not only just that, man, apparently they're super limited. This is by far the craziest story I ever heard. Like, it is like an accessory nowadays to have the Yeti cup. And it started off with the big one, but this one is a pink one.
Oh, great.
And
does it have gems on it?
Brawls, no, it's a plain Barbie pink one, it looks like.
God.
They're saying brawls broke out. I saw a video where somebody jumped over the countertop and just started taking them. I mean, jumped over the counter and started stealing them from folks. And I'm just like, man, if you love your Yeti cup, I mean, your Stanley Cup like these people love theirs, then please let me know what this is all about. I got actually a free cup right now from the University of Tennessee that I got my tea in.
You've got a free cup.
I've never.
Yeah, you don't even have your Yeti.
But here's the coldest thing right now. People waited in lines for hours for a cup. People waited in line, y'all, for hours for a cup. And not only that, these people are getting this cup and are reselling it for $300+.
The original price of these things are $45. Maybe if you have, friends and family that have this cup, or you got that for their Christmas gift. You're thinking, well, isn't it $45? That's like the average price. $300?
Yeah. You can go on the popular shoe site StockX, is where a lot of people buy their shoes from on the secondary market. Well, now you can get Stanley Cups on the secondary market. That's got to be by far one of the craziest things I've ever seen. Just distributed. Where did this come from, Kayla? I gotta ask you on this one, because it's more women fighting. It's more women fighting over this and made it popular than I feel like. I think when the Yeti came out, it was like, oh yeah, this stays cool for a very long time.
Like,
this stays
Yeti's
hot
universal. I feel like
universal.
Men, women, like I feel like we see Yetis. Like all of us have Yetis.
Oh my gosh.
Well, the Stanley Cup I have only seen. I have never purchased. I have never desired a Stanley Cup. Now, a Stanley Cup for, the Preds, that'd be great.
That's totally different.
That's on another level, right? I'm wanting that. But for myself, like, I see him at the yoga studio. Not going to lie.
Do you?
I see him at the yoga studio, and it's not just the young 20-year-old girls.
No,
it is the older
the moms.
Yeah. It's probably more popular with the moms.
Yeah.
So I don't know where it started, but this thing is becoming, it's starting brawls.
So Stanley, you guys know Stanley is the tool company. Stanley used to make large green thermoses that everybody's dad would take soup and coffee to work in. They used to have the yellow rulers and tape measures. So I don't understand why this is so much different from a Yeti. So I think it was about 6 months ago, someone had a car fire, and they were like, it's crazy because my Stanley still has ice in it. They went into the car that had already burnt down and shook the Stanley, and it had the cold, the ice and the water and all that stuff left in it.
What the heck?
But these new cups.
But did you hear what the owner also did in that situation? He also, is a good thing he did, but he bought her a vehicle.
Well, it's like an endorsement for them, basically.
Big time.
That's incredible.
That's a huge endorsement.
So, according to the internet and people on it, Stanley Cup sales have increased 275%. And this year in the Christmas season have increased 751%.
Goodness gracious.
Over a cup.
So just to give more clarity on the cup, too, it's Stanley.
Wait, let me paint this picture really quick for our audio medium. Ramon is telling the story, and he's slightly dipping his tea. He's slightly dipping his tea into his coffee cup. Let me get into the more details on this morning.
Let me break this thing on down for y'all real quick, okay? So the cup in question, okay, that's causing all this chaos is a Stanley and Starbucks collab.
Oh, well, there it is.
It is,
that's
the counter that the dude jumped. It was a Starbucks counter inside of Target that this dude jumped over and pretty much snatched this cup out of this woman's hand. But I'm on StockX. I know a lot of you parents that got kids and people that love shoes go to StockX all the time. Hey, Dad, can I get these shoes? They're on Stock. Hey, get out of here, okay, kid? But Right now, the price of this cup is $195 on the secondary market. And you want to know what's crazy about it? StockX keep you updated because it said it's been 297 cups sold in the last 3 days at $195.
I mean, I don't even know what to say about this. I feel sorry for parents.
When other countries look at us, they see us buying $195 Stanley Cups. And I'm talking about at this point, it better keep my soup from last week cold. I agree. Hot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and like you can still eat it. Like,
oh my gosh, this has got to be one of the craziest stories I've seen in a very long time. A cup. So Bert, this is a tool company.
Yeah,
correct.
My grandfather had like the green Stanley. Yeah, we would go camping and he would pull out the green Stanley cups, like Bert was saying.
What we used to call them back in the day, a thermos.
Correct.
Yeah, a thermos.
A thermos.
Correct.
So I'm looking at StockX, and there is one Stanley Flow State Quencher 40-ounce tumbler, the same size and same condition as the rest of them. But it is this Arctic Twist Blue. There's only one for sale, and it's for sale for $20,000.
Okay.
I'm done. I'm done with mainstream media now.
Come on, y'all.
I'm done.
Oh, my God. Let's just do better. Let's just do better.
Have y'all ever waited in line for a release, though? I haven't.
No.
I've had other people, I have paid somebody to wait in line for me.
I've waited in line for tickets before in college.
And I understand that if it's a concert you really want to see,
for sure,
right?
it was the ECU UNC game. So like the tickets for ECU, you only get a certain allotment. You have to wait in the ticket office line.
Yeah, I did that
for
games.
Never wait for a cup.
No.
Man, Austin Stanley just texted me and said family business is doing good.
Look at Austin. I was going to say, Austin Stanley just flexing, our good friend from A to Z Sports.
Yeah, from A to Z. Get out of here this early in the morning. He's probably the one pushing the market up right now.
Why not?
Business is booming.
Don't knock it till you try it. It's a really good cup, man.
You know, and I've almost become that guy, though. I'm refusing to buy a Stanley Cup. My wife got one of. She's got like a tall workout one. It ain't the big 40-ounce. Why is it a 40-ounce too? By the way.
Well, I mean it's a 40. That's it's kind of cool to say. Like,
can I pour my 40 in there?
40.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about. But she's got a different one with like a cap on it. It's not like this 40-ounce one with the handle. That's the one that's got everybody going crazy. And I actually like the bottle that she got. And now I'm just like, man, I kind of like it.
Okay, if you get one, I will kick you out of the studio.
But the real one in me is like, nah, we ain't succumbing to this.
No.
Absolutely. I bought the knockoff Tennessee Vols one from Sam's. Like, they had them on sale like this summer. I bought the knockoff one, and it didn't insulate great, so I got rid of it.
I know.
But
the knockoff stuff.
Yeah, the knockoff one. But it as far as aesthetics, it does everything you needed to do except for hold the ice longer, I thought.
Well, we're not allowing you to do that. We will kick you out of the studio. I am wondering, though, is there a coach in college football that's bougie enough to have their own Stanley Cup? Like, I really wonder that. Maybe we'll
Lane.
Maybe we'll get the answers because we've got a great thing to get to coming up. College football coaches, who's the nicest? Who's the most arrogant? Some of the All-American Under Armour players chimed in. We'll get to some of those guys. And Josh Heupel makes the list. What they have to say about hype. That's coming up next on RKW here on 104.5 The Zone. Welcome back into Ramon, Kayla, and Will on this Thursday morning. Hopefully we're getting you guys up and going this morning as you're driving to work. Maybe you've got the day off. You're listening to us. You can always chime in on the chat, the FNM Bake Chat on YouTube. We've got Twitch.
Twitch, please.
Oh, that was a little delay there.
I was looking through an article real
I know.
quick.
I was waiting for Bert to chime in on that. You can also call us 615-737-1045. We'd love to chat with you today. We've got some stuff to talk about coming up in the show when it comes to the Titans. But let's start with a little college football. Well, you know, at least the football coaches in college football.
Yeah.
So this is a really good article from The Athletic. It was a combined effort between Grace Rayner and Manny Navarro. And so they did this last year. So for the second straight year, they caught up with some of the best high school football players in the country at the Under Armour All-America game. So they had the Media Day event this week and really hit on a variety of topics. Like Ramon mentioned when we opened up the show, everything from NIL to maybe the most kind of awkward things you were asked about in your recruiting visits.
Who spent the most money on a recruiting visit? Did they troll also certain fan bases? I thought that was pretty unique in this article. Yeah, it was.
So if you want to check out the article, it is up on The Athletic right now. But we thought we would touch on two of the questions that had to do with coaches around college football, because I think a lot of the times we see these football coaches and what they say in front of the media, and we kind of assume like that's who they are, right? But when they're with these kids inside their homes recruiting, sometimes they're a little different.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a good way because it's, what is it? Anonymous?
Anonymous,
So it's not like you're going to know who these players are who are saying this. So here's a couple of the ones that stood out in terms of the SEC coaches. So one of the first coaches that was mentioned was Kirby Smart, and the guy just said, I really liked Kirby Smart, mentioned a couple other coaches with him and said, they're just good people. They talk to you more about things than football. So Kirby Smart brought up a couple times in this. Florida's Billy Napier.
Yeah.
This was a little surprising to me, and maybe I'm a quick judge because I don't feel like things are going in the right direction.
Well, see, here's the thing, too, before we go any further.
Yeah.
Like, it's fascinating. Some of the names in here, too, Kayla, to your point. I look at this situation, I say, recruiting is all theatrics. It is.
And you're right. So you say these coaches maybe put on a little more of an act.
It depends on who you are, probably.
Right.
I would tell you that. I think with recruiting, you got to think you're trying to get me to come to your school so that you keep your job, essentially what this is.
Sure.
So it's fascinating that there are two sides to what these players, some of them have seen some of the nicest coach, and there's also to schools that you didn't sign with. And these are players talking about them in the sense that
they didn't
sign with these coaches.
Yes.
And they still had good stuff to say about them.
Right.
But this is also just, I'll always prepare any parent that's going through coaches lie. It's all the theatrics, and it's all fluff and make you feel good during the process. So I'm actually not shocked by some of them. There's one guy when you get to him that I am just a little bit shocked by. Well, he's not an SEC coach. I'll just say it.
Yeah, say it.
James Franklin. That was kind of fascinating to me. But, of course, I heard he's very charismatic. He knows ball. He knows how to recruit his ass off. I've heard that. But see him make the list, I thought was very unique from an outsider's perspective. I never ran into him like that. I've ran into players that have coached, that was coached by him, hated him.
I have interviewed him when I do Vandy baseball every season.
Yeah.
And I interviewed him. And I will say this. He is charismatic. He has a way to kind of like make you feel.
He draws you in.
He draws you in.
Yeah.
And I had never met the guy.
Yeah. But he draws you in, though. And I've heard it from the other side, too, from the player side. It's like they hated him. Like he had him recruiting other people while they was warming up right before the game and stuff. Mm-hmm. Like he was like, Coach, this is not it. But continue on, though, Kayla. I just wanted to say that.
Thank you for making that clear, too, that these are guys that actually didn't sign with these coaches, and they're still saying some nice
stuff about him. But, yeah definitely.
Billy Napier, one player said, Napier's a really good dude. So is Mike Norvell at Florida State. That does not surprise me. And then, again, Coach Kirby Smart is a business guy.
I wonder what that meant, though, that Kirby Smart is a business guy. I wonder what he's selling them. Because I've heard of coaches catch these. So is that. Coaches are selling like certain things they know players like. Like, you're going to be the biggest star on social media. Your NIL is going to be this. Or, it's just your next phase is going to be so great. Like, they paint pictures for you. So it's interesting that a young player will say Kirby Smart is a business guy.
Man.
Yeah,
I
that's
thought
big time.
that was interesting.
They probably got a lot of sales of Trackhawks and Hellcats in Georgia, so it's probably the business they were talking about.
It's definitely.
That's not it right there? Okay, I was just checking.
It might be.
That might be
It might be. Ohio State's Ryan Day, you can feel like you can talk to him about anything. That doesn't surprise me. I've heard really good stuff about Ryan Day up in Columbus. The problem is like, I don't know how much more time he has, because you can be the nicest coach in the world and doing the right things.
Yeah.
But if you're not winning the games that you have to win, Michigan rivalry, some of these bowl games, some of these big games, you're not going to be able to stay in one place. I mean, that's just the business of this. So, and then Alabama's Nick Saban. He was different than I expected. And this is in a good way.
Yeah.
So,
I wonder what that was, being that they probably thought Nick was a hard case when it comes down to recruiting. His perception, of course, he's very stringent in how he goes about his work, from what I've kind of understood, too, which is a good thing for Nick. But, of course, this is always going to be prospect to prospect on how guys are certainly dealt with in the recruiting process. But you got the one that everybody's waiting to hear, though, too, Kayla. It's
yes,
Coach Heupel.
Coach Heupel, and this player said, I want to say, between Tennessee's Coach Hype, he says, and Oregon's Dan Lanning, Coach Hype, down-to-earth guy. He's really nice. Off the field, he's a nice guy, good person, and he actually cares about his players. He knows his players. His players can come to him, and I can see that with my own eyes. Okay, so we've seen like some of these and heard some of these shorter answers. Like, this player clearly raved about Josh Heupel and kind of went into detail of why he felt he was a real guy and a genuine guy. And this is, again, somebody who did not sign with Tennessee.
And this is fascinating, too, because the two coaches he mentioned, and it had to be a nice enough prospect. And I'd love to know where he actually went. But it was between Tennessee, Oregon, and whoever else this kid committed to. One, got to be a great prospect, but two, just let you know what players are seeing. And Tennessee's track to actually start signing these types of dudes is probably just a fine line. You never know if it's NIL. As far as Coach Heupel, like, selling the university, you hear it in this right here from this statement right here from this young man. The article's from The Athletic, and it talks about who's the nicest guy in recruiting. I know a lot of people probably think, well, you're too nice, that's why you're losing it. But in recruiting, there's so much that goes into it and so much contact that is given to these young players. Like, some of these dudes said they were receiving 8 to 10 calls a day, probably doing about 5 to 7 interviews a day, sometimes 20 interviews during the week. So they hear from a lot of people. So for Coach Hype to be able to establish himself in this manner in such a short amount of time, too, this was, to me, a big-time vouch on what he's capable of doing at Tennessee. And if Coach Hype lost, and also Dan Lanning also.
Yeah.
Those are two, I think, premier universities when we're speaking about what's what in the college football world. So Vols fans that, I know some people got tired of Hype this year and the expectations of what it was. That's why you never really know what or why a team is losing on the field. A coach, to your point, Kayla, about Ryan Day, can be doing all he possibly can to win, to coach, to recruit, and it just don't work out for him. So as far as somebody who's going to be the spokesperson for the University of Tennessee, of course, Coach Hype is paid to do this, but the fact that it's more than just football when it comes down to the guys that are on that team and the players he's also recruiting too, says a whole lot about where Tennessee can go if they start hitting on these types of guys, especially being an Under Armour All-American. Like, to me, that's probably one of the highest sales somebody can have is he's really nice. Off the field, he's a nice guy. Good person. He actually cares about his players. Like, you see the player interaction with him. And to me, I think that was one of my selling points when it came down to the University of Tennessee also. And it's not just Tennessee. It's just any university. Like, if you're able to see this type of stuff, you feel comfortable going there with those coaches because it shows job security. That was the one thing in the era that I grew up in is the coach going to get fired. and he got fired at the end of my
Which
tenure at
happens a lot
Tennessee.
in this world.
But when you hear this type of stuff happening in college sports, I think it's huge for Vols fans. And eventually you got to start signing those type of dudes that it seems like softly told you no, like, Coach, man, I love to, but I can't right now. You know?
And that can play in. There's a lot that plays into these guys signing. Obviously, money is a big thing now.
Playing time early.
Playing time, where the location is, like that still plays into things, right?
Yep.
And I think what Josh Heupel and his staff have on their side is the fact that the more that you see guys coming back to Tennessee, or like Brew McCoy deciding, oh, I'm going to come back for one more season when he didn't have to, because he feels like they've got a shot always. I think that's the thing. If you are a player at Tennessee moving forward as they continue to build this, if you feel like you've got a shot to win a national championship, you're not only possibly signing there, you're maybe coming back for a year and making a little more money and then helping out the team that year, maybe get to a spot you didn't get to the year before. So I feel like they're doing a good job as a staff as getting the right guys in there, helping develop them. And if they don't feel like they're ready to go to the next level, they're okay to come back because they feel like they can still up their draft stock and compete for a national championship. Yeah. And here's the other thing. When it comes to 5-star recruits and getting the right guys, you got to be a genuine coach, in my opinion. Have a little business savviness to you. But if you're a guy like Jimbo Fisher, I don't care what you do to get 5-star recruits in and you get them in. Because if you can't get them in, keep them in, develop them, and actually win a national championship or even just win an SEC title with those guys, then you're garbage.
Right.
And we've seen what happened with Jimbo Fisher. He got in all those high recruits.
Yep.
He didn't do one thing with them.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not, Kayla. It's fascinating, though, on the who was the weirdest or most arrogant coach you met during the process and why. Everybody knows who was the first one up.
What do you think? Who do you think it is?
I know who it is, Kayla.
Colorado's Deion Sanders.
Deion Sanders.
But the player goes, it's all love, though. He goes about it in his own unique way. It's not arrogance. It's cockiness.
It's cockiness.
So I don't get it. So do players like that, or does that
it's got to be
push players away? Do you think?
I guess it's like drinking a Merlot or Chardonnay. Like some people don't like it a certain way, or bourbon or tequila. It's an acquired taste, I guess. What Deion is, you got to kind of like it to like him. Is what it is. Like that's you got to kind of like what he is what he does. And that be somewhat part of you to like it. That's all. Yeah, it's an acquired taste is what it is.
And that's why I feel like if he doesn't start to win and win quickly, it's going to be harder to recruit with that style because you've got to win when it's all said and done.
To your point, though, you talked about what Jimbo made this most arrogant or weirdest coaches 2 times, and I think Saban made it 3 times in this. You want to go through a few of the comments on that one, Kayla? And also, we can't leave out the Vols almost coach Greg Schiano. I'm going to take this one.
Yeah,
somebody said
simple.
Rutgers Greg Schiano was too robotic. I couldn't imagine that trying to recruit somebody.
Could you imagine him at Tennessee at this point?
Too robotic with this fan base? Hell no. No, absolutely not. But Dabo's is pretty interesting.
That's probably my favorite.
Yeah.
In terms of the most realistic. And we've talked about it on this show. The kid says nobody was really arrogant, but Clemson's coach Dabo Swinney isn't stuck in his ways necessarily, but doesn't want to change much. He's stuck in his ways.
Yeah, that sounds like a nice way of saying bless your heart. Like,
it is.
Oh, but he doesn't want to change. He doesn't want to change.
It seemed like this same kid or recruit was the same one that said, what would they change? There was a question, what would you change about the recruiting process? And it said, I hate that Clemson coach doesn't allow you to visit more than one school. So after you commit. So it's clearly may be the same kid. If it's more than one person saying that about Dabo going to have a problem.
I think he kind of already has a problem brewing there.
Yeah.
If he doesn't want to change his ways in terms of NIL and transfer portal guys, like he's got to change or that program is going to become not extinct, obviously, but it's not going to become a factor.
It'll be hovering for a little while.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So the Nick Saban comments, there are a couple.
I can't believe the next Saban. I want to read this one, Kayla, because this one right here is it it threw me back a little bit.
Oh,
I ain't
yeah,
gonna, I'm be honest
did
with
you
you.
bring this up
No,
when we were
Will
talking
actually
about
brought this one up yesterday, but this one really blew me like backwards in the sense of like, whoa, wait a minute. But it says this about Coach Saban. And he made the list how many other time? Two more times after this. It says, I'd say Coach Saban. My mom wasn't happy with him. We were at the table eating, and he acknowledged me, but not my parents. My mom said, if you're acknowledging my son, you should acknowledge me. Y'all know the first way to get a recruit to commit, Bert, Kayla? Mama. Dad is the one that's going to make it happen.
I mean, you talk with all these guys.
Dad's going to make you feel okay about going to the school. But it's mama that's losing her baby that you're going to have to convince her first. And the fact that mama had to say, if you're acknowledging my son, you should acknowledge me. I can't believe he dropped the ball on this one.
That surprises me.
As long as he's been in Alabama and know how it works, it almost seemed like whoever this lady is may be from the South, just because it's one of those situations like, you're going to respect me, you know? And I can't believe this is a comment that came out about Saban.
Maybe he should have brought Miss Terry, his wife, with him on this recruiting visit.
That's probably why the wives are always there, Kayla. Yeah. Yeah,
and there was another one, just one that simply said, I didn't like Nick Saban. It was just the vibe, and not a good vibe, obviously, in that way. And then ex-Texas A&M coach Jimbo Fisher, I watched him in practice. He yelled and cussed at guys too much.
There's a line.
Yeah.
It depends on what cussing you're doing. So I'll be fair. This kid may be in for a rude awakening whenever he go to school, but it depends on what the curse words are and how he cusses you out, because there's different versions of what that is. And college coaches are insane when they get you in practice.
Yeah, but a really cool article, again, dives into so much more, and it's all obviously guys that are going to top caliber schools in the future. So it's
the last one though, I gotta go.
Oh, okay.
The last comment on this one of the weirdest or cockiest coach or arrogant. It said Fisher and Saban. Talking to Saban felt like talking to a robot. It didn't feel real. But there's so much. If you can, go check this article out, man. It was talking about how they were actually going to pay kids for recruiting more. One kid said he was going to get $40,000 a month if he brought in more recruits. A lot of the guys said that they didn't sign with the school that offered them the most NIL money. There was a lot of that type of stuff that came about. So it's not just NIL for these kids also. They understand the projections of their careers, where they can go play. Somebody said they left probably about $300,000 on the table to go sign with somebody else. Another one of these recruits said he didn't get a whole lot up front and said that he was promised that he was going to make more while he played. But the numbers that are out there, though, it's actually lower than I thought, Kayla, as far as what some of these kids are getting paid. But it's also, I'm sure, dependent upon who you are as a prospect as far as the bag that you're capable of getting. But not everybody's going to the biggest bag.
Nope.
That's what's so unique about it,
and
too.
Some kids, it didn't matter as much, which was, kind of nice to hear.
Yeah, and some committed way earlier and were fine with it. This one kid said, I left some money on the table, about $50,000, but I signed with my dream school.
Sure. That it makes me feel good about kids that there's still some, you're going to schools because you really want to go there. I mean, that's probably money's going to outweigh most of it. But it's an interesting article. Go check it out on The Athletic. Grace Rayner and Manny Navarro do a really good job with that. Coming up next, he just is never out of the media. And he's decided not to speak to the media the past couple of times he's been asked to. Yeah, we're talking about former Tennessee Titans wide receiver A.J. Brown. He finally spoke to the media. We'll talk to you about it. And what did he say about his relationship with his head coach, Nick Sirianni? That's coming up next on Ramon, Kayla, and Will here on 104.5 The Zone.
When it comes to large home repairs, a lot of time we homeowners pretend we don't see the warning signs. We are afraid of what we're going to hear. This is especially true with waterproofing and foundation repair. It could be something big that needs to be fixed right away, or it may be a small problem now that'll become bigger later, or it could be nothing at all. Bottom line is, we don't know, and we certainly don't want to be sold something we don't need. What we need is a peace of mind, and United Structural Systems is a company to give you that. They have over 25,100% satisfied residential customers, and here's how they make that happen. When USS comes out to your house, you're going to get a problem solver who provides a peace of mind to their customers. That's you, the homeowner. You're not going to get someone who is worried about meeting a sales quota or upselling the next big thing, but someone that will educate you and help you understanding what's happening with your home. At USS, the only measure of success is how satisfied the homeowner is and not a closing ratio. Homeowners trust USS, keeping homes dry and stable for over 25 years. USS, serving Middle Tennessee, Southern Kentucky, Western Kentucky, and Northern Alabama. You can reach them online at USSTN.com or call them 615-488-7855.
Welcome back in to Ramon, Kale, and Will on this, what we like to call Friday Junior, technically Thursday. Beautiful morning in Middle Tennessee. And we're so glad you guys joining us this morning. And I know we can't get him off our minds. I feel like this is the perfect background music for this.
Because it's a lot.
Because it's a lot. We haven't talked about A.J. Brown a lot on this show recently. We've left him be.
Yeah.
But sometimes when you are the talk of not just Philadelphia, but the NFL, and you were a former Titan, and a lot of people still like AJ and follow what he does.
Absolutely.
So AJ Brown recently has kind of been the talk of the NFL, specifically though in Philadelphia, and we all know how Philadelphia fans are. They're very passionate.
Oh yeah, they're vicious.
Yes, and the media is very passionate as well. It's not really comparable to the Titans media, who I think a lot of people do a good job asking hard questions here, but it's not like that.
Oh, Titans media can get vicious too.
It can.
Well, not like that, but yeah.
But it's just a different level in Philly. And so Philadelphia has been on a skid. They've lost 4 out of their last 5 games. And I'm sorry, they're doing this and they're skidding with a lot of talent. And if I was a Philadelphia fan, I would also be pretty upset when my main player, one of my star players, one of the leaders on the team, isn't speaking at all after a game. He hasn't spoke to the media the last 2 availabilities. And I think fans were kind of outraged and media was asking for an answer. Mm-hmm. And then there's been all this stuff coming out that A.J. Brown has been beefing with head coach Nick Sirianni, and there's kind of stuff going on behind the scenes, and maybe the culture is a little wonky right now. So this was A.J. Brown finally talking to the media yesterday and explaining why he simply just had to take a step back for a minute.
The reason why I didn't speak to the media after the game because, I didn't want to be negative, I had already transitioned to the mindset where we were going through a tough time. And so me personally, the person I am, who just know I just have to go back to work, ain't nothing I could do about it, and like I said after the game, I said I was raised, if I had nothing nice to say, I'm not going to say nothing at all. So I'm not just about to continue to confound the negative with the negative. So you guys can write more negative stuff. Like, you guys watch the game too, you know what I'm saying? So, like, you guys already know. So that's why I was like, there's nothing more that I can say, I'm not trying to make it worse than what it is.
Is that true? Is that okay for him to come back now and say, hey, look, I didn't really have anything good to say. I'm going to stop myself before I say something I probably don't want to say. And this is why I haven't spoke with y'all. Because the media, I'm sorry, they don't owe us anything. We've got to do our job, and it's our job to ask players things. But, if he says no, he says no.
Yeah, to me, I think that was a very eloquent description that AJ got. I do. I think in that moment for him knowing himself, we've all heard here, at least in Nashville, that, Coach Vrabel had to somewhat usher AJ through some stuff. And I think he knew himself better. I think that's a sign of maturity on his side more than anything. And it may be unprofessional to walk out of the locker room without speaking to the media. But as far as a personal win for him, I think that was huge for AJ. It looks ugly, and he's a big dollar guy on their team, and he's a Pro Bowl, all pro type of guy. He's supposed to speak up and everything. But in that situation where it was nasty, as he said, they look bad. Losing, of course, their team, their record is a whole lot better than the Titans right now, right? But losing, of course, takes you to dark places. Vrabel said it as best if anybody could have said, yes, it sucks. It bleeping sucks. It does. I don't care how much you make, how big of a star you are, how good you did. Losing sucks. And I think that's where AJ was. I'm actually giving him a little grace on this one because I can understand why he would have been in that mode of darkness and say something even more stupid. And AJ doesn't seem like the guy to me that handles negativity well. I get that way sometimes, if it's negative, I don't want nothing to do with it. And you look at his situation and the stuff that he's already said, the antics that he's already, shown publicly, and how him and Jalen Hurts have been with each other on the field, where they've argued or whatever, that's fair. I give AJ grace on that one. That's probably about as a personal goal of his, he accomplished. So I like that.
Yeah, and I get it. It's frustrating for fans specifically because that's who matters, right? That's who pay money to come to these games, and they root for their teams and they buy merchandise. So I can get the idea of fans being frustrated if your star player is not giving you answers. But at the same time, I think that's part of the growth for so many players too, is to figure out like, okay, what do I got to do differently in a situation like this if I am frustrated? And AJ is he's unique, and we covered him here. I really liked AJ, but he wears his heart on his sleeve. And I think sometimes it is probably smart for him to take a step back, but when you're in Philadelphia, like, that doesn't fly. No pun intended.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm okay with it. And he actually talked to the media for quite a while and had some really thoughtful things to say about other situations that are going on there. So with that, I'm interested. Are you thinking Philadelphia is, obviously they're making the playoffs. They've got Giants to end the year, and then I believe they take on the winner of the NFC South.
Okay.
So are you a believer that Philadelphia can turn things around this quickly?
I'm a believer in the talent they got. That's where Philly, I think, earns a little bit of stripes as far as what they're capable of and when the playoffs start. They got crazy amounts of talent. They've hit a bad skid, and sometimes teams do this, and then they hit a playoff run like nothing ever happened during the season. Nothing matters after Week 18 is done. It's playoffs, and everybody's cooking at that point. So if they can come together in some type of way, and maybe AJ's response was the start of that this week. And, you know, if you said they got the Giants this weekend, so we got to see what that's going to look like. But if AJ speaking up the way he did to not pour more gasoline on a bad situation is the start of them being better, Philly is going to be good. Mm-hmm. They got all the talent in the world. I don't deny that. They can make a run still.
Coming up next, Derrick Henry making the Pro Bowl for the 4th time in his career. But is it the last one with the Titans? What do we expect from him on Sunday? We discuss that and much more. That's coming up in hour 2 of Ramon, Kayla, and Will here on 104.5 The Zone.
What's going on? 701. Good morning. About to be 702 from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Robert Walsh. Pro Bowl roster is officially out, and Derrick Henry is the lone Titan on the list. This is Derrick Henry's fourth Pro Bowl bid, and also VFL and Clarksville native Jalen Reeves-Maybin made the Pro Bowl as a special teams representative in the NFC. 4 teams that did not have a Pro Bowler on their roster: Green Bay Packers, New England Patriots, Washington Commanders, and the Carolina Panthers. Titans with a rather lengthy injury report. 5 players not practicing, including Will Levis with a foot injury and Colton Dowell, who's headed to injured reserve with a torn ACL. On Jacksonville's side, it's pretty straightforward, as wide receivers Christian Kirk and Zay Jones, alongside with Trevor Lawrence, were all limited at practice. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once for your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Welcome into Ramon, Kayla, and Will on this Thursday morning. Happy Friday, Junior, to you. We, of course, are brewed up by 8th and Roast every morning here on the show. 4 locations now: 8th Avenue, Charlotte. They've got 2 in the airport, 1 here in Midtown. 8th and Roast, coffee cultivating community by the cup. And you can find your favorite retail bag also, if you just want to make it at home, at Kroger, Whole Foods, and Publix. We always appreciate our coffee from 8th and Roast, and great pastries as well. I am Kayla Anderson alongside our Vol for Life, Mr. Ramon Foster, sipping on his tea this morning, looking rather warm. And then we've got, I'm going to say it, Bert behind the glass. That's right. Robert Walsh making it all happen. Will Bowling has the day off, and we're already roaring into hour 2.
We are rolling into hour 2, man. I would say the sun is coming up, but it's not. It's gray outside.
It really hasn't
right
come
now.
up.
We've got those days where it just feels like it should snow, where it's just like there's an overcast of gray. Yeah. I always feel like we're supposed to get snow those days.
I do
Me too.
Yesterday looked like it had a little precipitation in the air too. It was just like gray and it looked like Gotham City yesterday, which I absolutely get that. I love that time of the year, but I'm with you. I need the snow, but then I don't need the snow too.
As someone who's kind of freshly new to the area, hadn't been here too long of a time,
right?
How often does Nashville get snow every year? We
did like a couple years ago. We got it for, I felt like the last 2 winters, not the one last year, but maybe the 2 before that, we got some snow.
Yeah.
And then last winter was kind of mild.
Yeah, last winter was really mild.
I know we had one day last year where they were like, "We'll get you guys hotel rooms if you want to stay."
That's right.
Yeah. But other than that, I don't think we've got any white stuff this year.
You'll get it usually in January, February. If we ain't got it by the middle of February, we ain't getting it. That's usually my motto as of late. If we don't get it by the middle of February, then it's a wrap for me.
Yeah, I walked outside and we were going to our cars, Bert, and I go to Ramon. I go, "Don't you feel like this feels like Detroit today?"
It did. I thought it did.
Like it just looked like Detroit. Like Nashville is way better. Like don't get that twisted, but it just felt like it because it was like gray and
it was
dreary.
Gray. Heck, I honestly thought it was mostly like Pittsburgh. That's what Pittsburgh's like.
Is that
a
what
good
it's
bit
like
of the
too?
year. Yeah, them in Seattle. Like Pittsburgh and Seattle have the same type of weather. Mm-hmm. I think it's like 56 days or like 64 days of direct sunlight. It's mostly overcast and stuff like that. So yesterday was a little bit of an overcast. But
except for you get snow in Pittsburgh.
They haven't been
get
getting it a
snow
lot
in
lately.
Seattle. They haven't?
They not lately. The last couple of years, they hadn't got a crap ton of snow. So it's weird, but global warming doesn't exist. I don't think.
There he is, laying it down.
It's my radio show. I can say that.
You can say that.
I can say that. All right. Yeah, absolutely. Global warming doesn't exist, though.
Well, we've got a Tennessee Titan who will be representing the organization in the Pro Bowl, and none of us are surprised that it is King Henry. Derrick Henry making his 4th Pro Bowl trip, Orlando this year. And Hopefully they're not playing in the stadium that the Vols
Right.
played in. That's a story for another day. We talked about that yesterday on Rowan, Kayla, and Will. But a great thing for him. Obviously, he's done a lot for this organization. Previous years, he's made the Pro Bowl 2019, 2020, and 2022. So, yeah, another great honor for him to add to his resume where someday you hope to see him in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and again, congratulations to Derek, man. That's big on him representing this team, this city the way he does. Again, I think this is where a lot of this fan base will always jump on that soapbox about Derek. It's the conversation that Derek's the biggest star we have. Derek's the biggest representation that we have. I think Big Jeff will be in that conversation too. But when it comes down to what Derek means to this organization, you're seeing it right now. Even in, I don't even know if you want to call this a down year for Derek, but he's making the Pro Bowl still. He's a guy that's still on the front page of NFL.com. He's still a guy that has name recognition, that has face value here in Nashville. So when we have these conversations, you, Will, Bert, everybody else at the station about, is Derek's run here over? This right here just backed those people up even more. Well, he just made another Pro Bowl. It's what he means to this franchise and this city. And I think it's very unique and also a tip of the hat to Derek also for forever grinding. And a down year, he still has 1,014 yards. Mm-hmm. That's what we're talking about, and that's where a lot of people come from. And I get it. I do. I absolutely understand where you come from when it comes down to what Derek means to this game, how this offense has always revolved around him, how he's always just been the guy. Since he's kind of flipped that switch, that gives you that national recognition. That matters to fans. That matters to players, too, as a team. And it should be one of those driving forces to where you, as a player, want to make that. If I'm Tajay right now, I'm falling in right behind this. And now, of course, he's not Derrick Henry. He's going to have to earn his own keep. But this is why this fan base will have a hard time just fully letting go of 22 whenever that moment comes. I don't know if it's this offseason. I think it is. But here's it again. We'll have this conversation. Well, he just made another Pro Bowl. Yeah, but aging running back that, I think the offense is kind of moving in a different direction about. That's where it becomes problematic from what's good for you as a fan versus what's good for us as a team.
Well, and what's also good for Derrick Henry as an individual moving forward, too, with his career. Because maybe, he can continue to do a little bit more and win a Super Bowl next year on another team. It's kind of what's both for both organizations. By the way, Danico Autry and Jeffrey Simmons both getting alternative nods.
They got alternate nods big time. Danico, the only issue with him, he's got to get more name recognition. He should have made the Pro Bowl for sure this year. Ain't a knock. People know who Danico is, but I'm sure on the fan side of everything and how they vote for, it's like, oh, he just had a great year. That sucks with Danico because Danico, I hope whoever's in front of Danico turn it down so he can get in.
He does stuff quietly from the outside. Yeah, Bert, what were you going to say?
I think the linebackers kind of get shafted a little bit in the Pro Bowl voting as well because outside linebacker, off-ball, and outside linebacker are all glommed together. So there's only 5 linebackers that make it from the AFC in total. I think it was T.J. Watt, Josh Allen, Roquan, Patrick Queen, and someone else to rotate in.
2 Baltimore guys?
Yeah, I know. Who would have thought, man? I know it's stinky, man. What are you going to do about it?
No, for real. That's what you're known for, though.
The linebackers, man. And I think it's kind of – I saw a lot of people yesterday saying this was a legacy ad for Derrick Henry, but just some statistics to kind of level out why he was probably the 3rd running back. But he's behind James Cook and Raheem Mostert. For what it's worth, James Cook has the most rushing yards in the AFC by a running back. Raheem Mostert has the most touchdowns by a running back in the AFC. But Derrick Henry has the 2nd most yards and tied for 3rd in touchdowns with 11 touchdowns, 1,014 yards. So statistically, on paper, he is on par with the top running backs in the AFC. Decline or no decline, statistically, he is there at the top.
So the question I have also is this based off performance when it comes down to the Pro Bowl? Because here's the thing on the AFC side, Kyron Williams has the most rushing yards out of anybody on the AFC side. So why is he not in if it's, hey, you had a great year? You know what I'm saying? 12 touchdowns on the ground, 7 plus 20-yard runs on the season. Like, he's got some good stuff too. is this a popularity thing also when we got to look at it? Because if I was Kyron Williams of the Chargers, and I know they got a trash season this year, I'd be a little ticked off about that when the numbers are supposed to matter to the point that we just made.
So the Pro Bowl is determined by fans, players, and coaches, with each group's vote counting 1/3 towards the deciding of the rosters. So it's a collaborative effort.
Everybody talking about the Epstein list getting leaked out. I would love to see the coaches and players'
too,
votes
actually.
broken down.
Can I tell you how it goes?
Let's hear it.
Can I tell you how it goes?
I'm interested.
Our PR people will come into the room and they get players mostly after practice. Hey, man, can you fill this out for the Pro Bowl? Oh, man, do I got to? Come on, man. Get one of the rookies to do it. And you know what happens? Players sign that off on people they know. Like, a lot of players probably don't even know who Kyron Williams is if you didn't play him or if you don't look at his stat line. Like, it would be the guys that we would pick all the time when it comes down to who's going to be in the Pro Bowl. It's name recognition. And that ain't me just saying, hey, it don't matter, because it does, because the fans see it and also the coaches have a vote too. But the way you look, and I think the fan vote is a little bit, is it 33% too?
Yeah, they said
it's
1/3 for all of them.
I actually thought the fan vote was a little bit less because it's so much of popularity driven.
But it would make sense. That's why Minka Fitzpatrick made the Pro Bowl, because
see?
people just know his
People
name.
love
He's
him.
not really that good. People just know his name.
It's the Pro
It's
Bowl,
Steelers
but
hate
it still
week,
gets,
man.
Steelers hate week.
you know.
It's
He's
Steelers
gotta
hate
get
week.
his shots
I
in
can't
here.
believe that Patrick Queen made it. That dude's been a liability all year for Baltimore.
Hey, they put a really good video out for him, man. I was happy for him.
By
I
the
will
way-
say this, though. I was shocked Minka made it, considering he's been in and out of the lineup,
He's
though.
been kind of injured
Yeah.
this season.
But that also plays into what I just said. It's name recognition.
His name and hey, there's a lot of people who love Derrick Henry around the league. I'll tell you that much. But he's also continuing to do it for the most part in terms of his numbers. Are you upset you're not going to be watching your starters, Bert, on Sunday?
Nope, not one bit.
Okay, just wanted to check with you.
Me either. I ain't mad either.
He's going to the game. Yeah, I know you're
ain't
not mad.
either. You feel me?
My goodness. Well, our favorite coach, Coach Mack, will join us next. We'll ask him about Derrick Henry. What does he expect on Sunday from the King and what could be his final time in the two-tone blue? That's coming up next on Ramon, Kayla, and Will here on 104.5 The Zone. When you hear that music, you know it is time for our favorite coach, Coach Mack of Titans Radio, joining us now. Coach, how you doing on this Thursday morning?
Good, Kayla. Good morning. Good morning, Ramon.
Good morning,
great.
Coach.
Looking forward to talking with you guys and to do a little production meeting with the general manager and get the day started off right.
Coach, what are those like? When you go in and do those production meetings, it's always fun to kind of hear, the national media talk about it. Do you ever get to maybe hear things that you don't from the local media and kind of the daily things?
Yeah, I mean it's different. I mean it absolutely is different. Of course, when you're doing it with the head coach and the general manager of the club that that you're with, it's entirely different. I know when I was a head coach, the production meetings I would have, with the crews that would come in to do the television, when they're just there for a little while, but you get to know them, through the rotation. But to answer your question, yes, I mean you've got a relationship as far as just professional relationship with the guys because of the place that it's your team. It's a team that you're with all year. It's a team that you're that you are projecting to the fans, and so yes, I mean it's different. I'll just say that.
So Rhett Bryan came in here this morning, and we always chat, even during break sometimes with him.
Sure.
And he was saying that a lot of the guys in the locker room this week, the message has been from Coach Vrabel to end the season with class. What does that mean?
Well, just continue to prepare like a professional. I mean, this is your job. I mean, prepare like a professional. I mean, and go out there and do what you do to your utmost ability to win a ball game. That's what he means, and he's 100% right. I mean, if there's somebody that has the pulse of a football team but knows what it's about in the National Football League, it's Mike Vrabel. Look, this is a business. And regardless of whether you're having success or not, I mean, you can look around at teams. I've been on both sides of this equation. Or teams that are having success that still have issues because you're dealing with with human beings. But the way you project and the way that you approach your job daily is important. It's important in the present, and it's vastly important for the future. So that's exactly what it means.
Coach, well, good morning, man. How are you, Coach Mack?
Ramon, I'm great. I mean, I couldn't be better. Things are good.
Good, man. I got to ask you this question because, Coach Ray was talking about finishing with classes, Kayla just said a second ago. But, of course, the NFL is a big business. We talk about this, I think, a lot, especially when we go on the road and we look at all the people that the NFL employs, right? We see all the workers and the coaches, the personnel, and just the stadiums that they employ. And they also employ a lot of people on the sports media side, too. And a big conversation, Coach Mack, has been made about relationships. And that's between Coach Vrabel and GM Rand Carthon, Coach Mack. And it comes from people that, of course, that make money off the NFL. How do you feel about rumors for the people that aren't in the city or actually had conversations with those people about what their relationship is as it pertains to Coach Vrabel and Rand Carthon?
They didn't pay no attention to it. I think Mike Vrabel was very succinct yesterday when asked that question by the local media, and you pay no attention to it, because you understand now, and especially nowadays. I mean, the things are generated and narratives are created. Narratives are created so that they will have something to talk about, something to get clicks on. And you pay no attention to it. I thought his analogy of the Tooth Fairy and the Easter Bunny and Santa Claus was pretty true. You can get any narrative that you want going out there. That's just the society that we live in now. And so I've never paid any attention to that. And you heard it from the head coach himself. He pays no attention to it, and he gave it no credence. Those types of things, Ramon, I mean, please. Most of those things are created by people that are bad at life.
I love that, Coach Mack. One thing that I absolutely love that Coach Ray gave an answer to, man, was being transparent on the separation of winning and losing. He just simply said, it sucks to lose. Losing sucks, Coach Mack. Could you elaborate a little bit more on that, how the building kind of transforms from, you winning a whole lot to you actually losing too? Because coaches feel it. Players feel it. It's not like they just collect checks and go home, Coach Mack. A lot goes on the line week to week to get these dubs.
It's your life. I mean, it's your life. Players have worked hard to get to this level. Coaches have worked hard to get to this level. It's ultra competitive in the National Football League. It's your life. And so, unless you really lived it, you really don't understand the depth of it. And that's not to denigrate anybody that hasn't lived it, because there's only a select, the very fortunate, I count myself as one of them, that have been able to be involved in it over half my adult life in a deep, deep way. So yes, it affects you. And, it resonated with me. I mean, just struck a chord. You don't sleep. You're always concerned about it. You're concerned about your people, because how many times have I said, and not that I'm any great philosopher, but I do know that the reward of this league is not the money. The reward is winning games. And so that's what you put everything into, and the ability to be able to get your guts back and go back and regenerate and get ready for the next one. Regardless of the circumstances you're in, whether they're great or not, the challenge is still the same when you kick off every Sunday, Monday, or Thursday. It just is. It's a massive challenge, and that's why you put everything. There's not one fiber of your being as a coach or a player, and everybody else that's basically involved that you don't put into it. You don't put into it, and that's why. That's how important it is. I mean, people have always asked me, why does it seem so important to you, Mac? I said, is oxygen important to you? I mean, and that's just about the way it is.
And Coach Mack, the same thing could be said too when you look at how a team is being built. Right now, this team is, it's not where it wants to be. It's just not good as it pertains to the wins and losses. And the record shows that too, Coach Mack. When you break that down and what needs to be done this week, specifically at left tackle, what type of message do you think should be sent to those guys when it comes down to protecting, whether it be Ryan Tannehill, who said he felt like John Wick at the end of the game, or the fact that Will Levis had to go out again?
But hey, I mean, you've lived that. I mean, look, it's their job, and if you don't do it, then somebody else is going to do your job. I mean, the key phrase for after the Titans beat the Jaguars this weekend, the key phrase for this franchise is going to be talent acquisition. Talent acquisition. So you want to be sure that you're part of the talent that's kept rather than the talent that is asked not to be here, and you do that by performance. So hey. An offensive line, the number one job of an offensive lineman, and I'm not telling anybody anything they don't know, especially you, is block the man in front of you consistently, whether it's run or pass, and grind and do it week after week after week. That's the job. If you're consistently talking about an offensive lineman or an offensive line as a whole, then things are not good. Mm-hmm. Okay, you want your name out. You want your name out of the print. And all you want is your name on that grade sheet every week that says plus, and that's what you want. And you've got to work. You've got to work for that. To me, it is your job. And if you don't have enough ability to do it, and you may not have, that may just you may be trying as hard as you can. You never have to doubt the effort of a Mike Vrabel football team. Never, ever doubt the effort. If you don't quite have the ability to do it, then find somehow to get it done at the moment, because that's just the way it is. That's the bottom line in the National Football League. Find a way to get it done in the moment. You've heard me talk about moments in games. It comes down to individual moments. It comes down to team moments. You've got to get it done when you've got a chance to do it.
Coach Mack joining us this morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. You talked about talent acquisition in the offseason, and clearly you do that through free agency. You do that through the draft.
Yes.
How quickly can you turn things around? You've been in that position before in terms of, the management part of things and finding talent. Is it realistic that they could turn things around next season and be a playoff caliber team?
You can get better next season. You absolutely can. Now, can you get back to the top? I mean, it depends. It depends on really where you are talent-wise. And I will say this: they're going to have it. This is a huge opportunity for this franchise. That's why I'm excited about the off season. I'm looking forward to this for this reason. You've got salary cap money, and because And you never want to earn a high draft pick. You don't, because you want to win ball games. That's what this is about, is winning ball games. But if you're in the situation as to where the reality of it is that you're going to have a higher draft pick than you've had in years, and it's not only the first round we're talking about, it's successive rounds, then you've got to be very, very, very succinct with your talent acquisition, both in the draft, in your evaluation, and in your choices. And then just because you have salary cap money doesn't mean you go out and spend it like a drunken sailor.
Yep.
You've got to be smart with it. You've got to be smart with it and build for the future, because the future in the National Football League, the time frame has shrunk for everybody's chance for success. You used to have 5 or 6 years, no matter what. That's gone down. And when I'm talking about, retooling a team and retooling personnel, it's going to take you some time to do it, but it doesn't take forever, because you have got some avenues to be able to do it. So can you get better quicker? Absolutely you can, but the right decisions have to be made.
When you look at this first class with Rand and Vrabel together, a lot of these guys played this season in terms of the rookies.
Played.
Right. So
they all played.
Overall,
They
all played. No, they all played. You're exactly right. And I would think a majority of them, when I look at what they've done, there's been some really good contributions by many of them.
Well, and then some of them have had to contribute, too early, probably, just because of the fact of what has happened, around them as far as with injuries. But they've gotten the experience, and so. But yes, they've all contributed, and they've all shown that they can play at this level. That's the key. Because if you've shown some ability to play at this level, then you can be developed. Now, you're a big part. You as an individual are a huge part of that development, and especially in the off season. I mean, it's different preparing as a professional than it is as in college football. It's just different. And so you have to learn how to prepare as a professional. But this initial draft class, every one of them has contributed. So build on that.
Coach Mack, Jacksonville Jaguars coming into town for their second matchup this weekend against the Titans home finale. What have you seen from them since the last time the Titans have played them?
They've been up and down. I mean, they've been up and down. They've been unsettled, at the quarterback position, and they've had some guys. I mean, they're like any other team. They've had some injuries with some guys in and out. I think they're probably going to get some of those guys back. I mean, this ball game they're fighting for their playoff life in this ball game, which but once you get out there, you really don't even start thinking about. You think, I gotta win my individual matchup. When you're in the moment, and you can speak to this, Ramon, you've been in those kind of games. You're in the moment. You've got to do what happens. You've got to perform, in the moment. But they've been up and down because, they've had some injuries too. They had a pretty big lead in this thing, and all of a sudden now they find themselves coming down to the wire as to where, they have a must-win game. So I would imagine that we're going to get, not imagine, I know, regardless of who the quarterback is, whether it's Trevor Lawrence or it's C.J. Beathard, you're going to get the best out of this group.
And one of the best players out there right now is Christian Kirk. Apparently, he will be back this week also. What kind of problems does he present to this Titans defense this weekend?
Big, fast, can run and catch.
Yeah.
How's that?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a problem. That's a problem, and he's not the only guy. I mean, Evan Ingram has been a problem since. And you talk about, look, these people down there in Jacksonville, and I don't like to compare, the Titans with Jacksonville. They were in the same situation 2 years ago. I mean, it was a hot mess, but their hot mess was also internally. Again, I'm not going to go into all that, but they've had some talent. They spent a lot of money last year. They spent a lot of money. Christian Kirk's one of them. Evan Ingram's one of them that they brought in and developed and put with some higher draft choices that they had in the past because they had not been good. And all of a sudden, then it comes together. Health still makes a huge difference of it, but Christian Kirk, yeah, I mean he was. And at the time, if you'll remember, because I keep tabs on all this, like you guys do too, if you pay attention. When they signed him, they thought, well, they're nuts giving him that much money. Well, he's been worth it to them. Okay.
And on the defensive side of it, Coach Mack, Josh Allen, they probably should have played him last year, but he's going to get it 2 years in a row. I think he's here to stay for a while, Coach Mack.
16.5 sacks.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't care if you're playing against air. 16.5 sacks is hard. in the National Football League, just because of the way things work. Yes, he's an issue. Those two linebackers that they've got behind the ball, Lloyd and Aluakon, are problems too defensively, because with what they're doing up front, and you talk about the edge pressure, that he brings, but those two guys behind the ball, those guys are erasers. And so they've got a good football team. That's why they started off when they were completely healthy, winning football games and winning close football games. And so it's going to be a huge challenge.
Real quickly, Coach Mack, before we get out of here, I want to ask you about Derrick Henry. We don't know what his future is here. He makes his 4th Pro Bowl. I mean, the guy has been incredible in Tennessee. Is it going to be weird at all? Like perhaps you might be calling his last game here?
I don't even think about that.
Okay.
I don't think about that. I know this with Derrick Henry. It just shows even in a look. You know what you're going to get out of Derrick Henry every week, and of course a whole lot of what his success yards wise depends on the blocking unit up in front of him. Right? I mean, it does. That's just. But you know what you're going to get out of him every week, and him being named to the Pro Bowl off of a down year for the Titans shows the massive respect he has through this league.
Preach, Coach.
Yes, indeed, Coach.
We always appreciate your wisdom, and look, we just like you being straightforward.
Well, I don't know any other way to be. I mean, I grew up in West Texas. If you're not straightforward out there, you get slapped around pretty quick.
Exactly. You will not survive. We appreciate you, Coach Mack, of course, every Thursday right here on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Have a great call this weekend.
Guys, always my pleasure. Have a great day. See you.
Thanks, Coach
See
Mack.
you, Coach. All right, we've got something here that I know Vols fans are interested about because I heard a little bit yesterday when Will Levis stepped up to the podium. Will Levis, continues to look like he is the future at quarterback for the Titans. So are Vols fans accepting, even if he bleeds that Kentucky blue, the message he has for the Big Orange and Titans fans? That's coming up next.
It's Ramon Foster, Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Right now, man, I'm here to tell you guys that Hiller's been in business since 1990 and is family owned and operated. So you know they care about what they do and how they service you. So much so that they have a 100% satisfaction guarantee. It simply goes like this, man. Happy you'll be or the service is free. And they stand by that. If a customer isn't pleased with the work that's performed, they will make it right. And that means it'll probably be more free, or they're going to correct it or work on it until they do. Absolutely. And you will not have to come out of the pocket for that. They're professional, they're experienced, they have trustworthy technicians that come into your home and leave it cleaner and better than where they found it. What does it mean? When they walk into your house, they're going to put on shoe covers. They're going to treat your house with respect because care is their core value, okay? They believe that when you care about others, everybody wins. That's my motto. Everybody eats, okay? If you need anything done around your house, big or small, that involves plumbing, heating, cooling, or electrical, reach out to the folks that I trust at happyhiller.com.
Welcome back into RKW on this Thursday morning. So some of you have been wondering about this Will Levis comment on the Vols, and it got a little bit, I guess, twisted yesterday.
Yeah.
So I was there at the press conference. First of all, it was great. And he initially was asked the question about just getting used to division rivals and, you know, what it's like to go and play on the road. And it just means more when you're playing an AFC South opponent. And then he kind of voluntarily said, but the rivals in the SE still just are a little bit more. Like, it just means more.
Yeah.
It just means more. That's the SEC slogan. And he seems to be standing by the fact that he still kind of enjoys what it was like playing on the road in college atmospheres. And then he kept on referring to, you know, certain fan bases are more intense than others. And look, the media was pushing him on this one. It was all in fun and games, guys. And then finally he admitted, you know, Vols are one of those fan bases that, you know, is hyped. They get up for games like that. And he understands that there are a lot of Titans fans that are also Vols fans. So here is what he had to say specifically about being a Vol fan.
Yeah, or even people that still don't like them. But, yeah, I mean, you got to respect it. If someone, you know, if you're a Vol fan and you don't like me simply because you're a Vol fan, like, you better stay on that hill. You know, you don't change, don't just switch up now. But no, I mean, I'm opening all fans of us of the Titans with open arms, and you know, hopefully, at least since I got drafted, maybe I've been able to change.
Is it unusual?
So I loved it. He's like, if you're a Vol fan and you didn't like me because I was a Kentucky quarterback, stand on that hill. Like, don't back down. I thought that was actually pretty funny.
I thought it was funny, too. And, of course, I think it came in jest. But it's also like, if you're that stupid to dislike me because I went to the University of Kentucky, then you are a stupid fan to stay on that side. That's me. That's how I feel about that. Like, I went through and looked at the team, okay, where they're from. Derrick Henry, where is he from?
Alabama.
Okay, Traylon Burks from Arkansas, another SEC school. If you talk to Will, of course, and listen to a bunch of older Vols fans, they will tell you Auburn's the Vols' biggest rival, or was one of those teams. Well, Roger McCreary played for them, man. There are so many different teams that Clemson's on this team. Kentucky's on this team. Like, there's numerous Kentucky. LSU, Arden Key is on this team from LSU. And I'm just trying to figure out why y'all got a problem with Will Levis. Like, that's bothersome to me. And, of course, it came in a joking way from him yesterday. It was like, stay on that side of it. But I just think it really is one of those situations where it's just like, this is so silly. Like, do you understand? It is the NFL. And I know it's Kentucky. I get it's Kentucky. But if you can be a fan of Big Jeff and Danico Autry, you can be a fan of Will Levis, too. Like, it's quite hilarious. I don't think he meant no malice by saying what he said about Vols fans. But I saw a lot of conversation yesterday that was filthy. For the people that did not hear the whole quote, or so it was released partially
what
also.
Was the partial part that people got mad at? Because when I put that clip into our sound today, I was specifically looking at when he said stand on that hill, and that was maybe the controversial part for some people. To me, that means I don't fault you for standing on that hill. Just continue to do it. If you want to do it, that's your thing. Like, don't back down because I'm the quarterback.
Yeah, no, it's definitely that too, or the fact that, look, whenever we turn this thing around, I don't need you to be up in my face, which, of course, that's what social media is anyway. People say and do whatever the heck they want to on social media when it comes down to words and how they feel in the moment. The thing is, it's such a microwave thing. It's 4 days of hot mess is what it'll be. By next Monday, this won't be a conversation again.
And again, I thought it was fun. I actually, over the last several times that we've talked to Will Levis, even, you know, he doesn't even know if he's playing this weekend, and he still speaks to the media. I will say this about him. Like, we've seen the passion from him on the field. It's actually nice to see a quarterback get up there and have a personality. And I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus in years past, but this guy actually cracks some jokes sometimes, shows a little bit more than just the average like speak of a quarterback.
Yeah.
I say if you're a fan of the Titans, like embrace that because he's different. He's different.
It was definitely, as Savage just said in F&M Bank chat, it was definitely clickbait. The way the article was released, if you're a Vol fan, stay on that side. But I get it. If you got a business to run, you run it how you want to, and you can put it out and make people go read the whole thing. Or you get more interactions than clicks on social media, and that's great for your business. I ain't mad at the method. It just shows where we are as society sometimes, man, where you go with the first thing you saw and not actually read through stuff. Reading is fundamental. Me personally, I like, to your point, what we're getting out of Will Levis. I love the passion. I love that you see him on the sideline giving a damn. I love the fact that he's a guy that, to your point, has a little bit more personality. This fan base was, I'm talking about steaming. That Ryan Tannehill showed no emotions.
And before that, Marcus Mariota.
Showed no emotions, okay? And now you got a guy that's actually doing it. Oh, we hate him. Or not even just that. It's clickbait. It was marketed beautifully because we're sitting here talking about it right now. Shout out to A to Z for doing that. I know Savage said something to him yesterday like that was just kind of foul. It was, to kind of leave that carrot dangling in the air like that. But I love the fact that it's got us talking about it, and he did give more clarity of it. To my point of it is Vols fans, y'all can't do this. We gotta be better. I'm gonna be real. Like that when I saw it, read it, heard all of it, I simply said, Vols fans, we gotta be better. I hate other universities. I do when it comes down to the sport. But one of my best friends in the world played for Florida. I got other dudes that played at LSU. We ain't have many Bama players in Pittsburgh. No, Minka, great individual. I battled against Bud Dupree, who's from Kentucky. So the stuff that you're beefing about, the players in the locker room could give a damn about, okay? So Vols fans, like I beg of you this year in 2024, the year of our Lord, you hear me? Let's be better with our social media keys, okay? Our Twitter fingers. Because it's kind of tiresome, if I can be real with you.
The quote out of context, it's kind of like when you're texting with your significant other and you say something flatly and they read it in an angry voice or something. But when you read the quote, if you're a Vols fan and you don't likely simply because you're a Vols fan, you better stay on that hill. Don't change up now. If you read it like that, it's going to be a little abrasive. But when you listen to the clip, he's jovial, he's joking, he's laughing. The video provides the context that's necessary here. So, I mean, I don't think there's any parties at fault, but when you read it out of context, it definitely would rub some people the wrong way, potentially.
Yeah, I'm more upset with the Vols fans for running with it like that, though. And it's been that way since the day he got drafted. Like, people are upset that he was simply picked by a team that you root for on a professional level. That's kind of low, y'all. I'm gonna be real. As Vols fans, let's be better this year. We can have nice things and also root for your home professional team too.
It's all in good fun, right?
It's all in good fun. And Levis had a good time with it and
did.
showed a crap ton of personality through it all.
What was a little more serious, though, yesterday? Mike Vrabel speaking to the media. There has been some rumors going on about him being unhappy here in Tennessee, at odds with Rand Carthon. He addresses all of that. That's coming up next in hour 3 of Ramon, Kayla, and Will here on 104.5 The Zone.
8 o'clock on the dot. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Robert Walsh. Pro Bowl rosters are officially out, and Derrick Henry is the lone Tennessee Titan on the list. This is Derrick Henry's fourth Pro Bowl bid. Also, for local news, VFL and Clarksville native Jalen Reeves-Maben made the Pro Bowl as the special team representative for the NFC. 4 teams did not have a Pro Bowl player on their roster. That would be on the Green Bay Packers, the New England Patriots, the Washington Commanders, and the Carolina Panthers, all without a Pro Bowler. To the Titans injury report, where it was rather lengthy, 5 players not practicing, including Will Levis with a foot injury and Colton Dowell, who is headed to injured reserve with a torn ACL. On the Jags side, the wide receiver Christian Kirk designated from return from injured reserve. He and Zay Jones were both limited at practice, along with Trevor Lawrence. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Good Thursday morning and welcome in to a Friday Junior, I should say, episode of Ramon, Kayla, and Will. We've got our 11-year NFL veteran. He's evolved for life.
Yay.
It's Ramon Foster. We've got Robert Walsh behind the glass making it all happen all the time. We call him many things. Bert Hawkinson.
Yay.
And again, we're very, very lucky to have him back there. I'm Kayla Anderson. Will Bowling out today, but we've got a show here for 2 more hours and plenty to get to. We've had some great conversations. Coach Mack joined us earlier. Sam Monson of PFF will join us in 20 minutes. So that'll be a good conversation, just NFL in general and his thoughts on the Titans here with 1 game remaining and kind of what they need to do going into the offseason. But something that has been talked about for the past few days now, and it just seems like it's catching more fire from different media correspondents around the country. But this narrative that head coach Mike Vrabel is unhappy here in Tennessee, that he is at odds with general manager Rand Carthon. Now, these are all rumors. And yesterday, a couple other journalists, including Jeremy Fowler of ESPN, not saying that any of this is completely, factual, but that what if he is unhappy?
Mm-hmm.
Just the fact that there are some kindlings kind of getting sparked here makes you wonder, where is this all coming from?
It's a lot of smoke, but nobody's willing to say who started the fire or where they started, where they saw a fire at. It is a fascinating conversation, and it's happening so much. It's almost like, are you going to speak it into existence, or is it just that? Is it a lot of smoke and no fire? Like, this is it's weird to me that they've not even hit a calendar year yet, Coach Vrabel and Rand. And as it stands, as far as we're going to judge the new guy, every single one of their picks this year has contributed. Whether that be you think it's good work or bad work, they've contributed. Every single one of them have played. They've done something. So as far as success of the GM, it seemed like that method somewhat works. As far as their collaboration of the type of players that they want, I think you can see that to be true in how they operate with one another. I've seen them interact with one another before. Seems very cordial. I could tell for the most part malice or just tension. You can see tension. You can feel tension. You can walk in a room and feel tension. You just can't. My issue with this is nobody wants to claim it. Nobody wants to put a source. Everybody's just heard. Everybody's just heard, but nobody's going to give credit to who's actually starting it. Nobody said there's nobody inside the building. There's just speculation that Vrabel wants to leave or that the Patriots. Do we love the Patriots that much that we want them to be good, so you want them to go try to grab Vrabel? Do you think Vrabel's that good of a coach? And if that's the case, Tennessee Titans fans, why are you actually pushing this narrative? Also, if you think Vrabel's that good of a coach, why did you want him out of here? That's the only question I have for you, too, is it because his reign is so new? And the conversation behind him is if he didn't earn it. And that's not true from what I've also heard. It's hard having this conversation because it feels dirty having it on a lot of different reasons for me.
Well, Terry McCormick, and props to Terry McCormick yesterday for asking the question to Vrabel, because he straight up came out with it and said, what do you have to say about these rumors? And this is what head coach Mike Vrabel said.
Yeah, no, I don't. I don't, because, again, if we believed everything that was on social media, it'd be Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny and there's no Tooth Fairy and all that. So I really have never responded to any of those, and we're not going to start now. I know where we're at as an organization. I'm excited to build this thing and to fix this thing and get it to where we want it to be, to win championships with Rand and Chad and A-Rob and a coaching staff and everybody. I mean, that's what our goal is. So, but no, the social media and where that is, I can't focus on that.
So that was his response to it. And then follow up, well, do you want to be there? And he says, absolutely, I want to be here.
And I think the ending of that conversation was as long as we're winning. And people tried to say, well, he doesn't want to be here because we're not winning. No, the NFL is a game, right? It's supported by the game, but it's a business too. The business is winning. Like my coach Tomlin used to say this often. Our game is football. Our business is winning. Our business is to win. If the business ain't good, then we're losing. If we're losing, that means we're going to get fired. That was an appropriate answer from him. There's a lot. And I heard the same conversation. To compare one from the other, I think there's a few similarities between Coach Vrabel and Coach Tomlin, too. And I think this is what I've always kind of heard him saying. If we're talking about non-football things, that means we're losing. The reason this conversation is so hot, in my opinion, okay, without me knowing anything more of what Vrabel and Rand's relationship is or what Vrabel's ultimate goal is. I know his kid's in school here in Tennessee. I know he's got another kid in the NFL in Atlanta, if I'm not mistaken. He's embedded here in this community. He's here for a while. The reason we're having this conversation is because you're losing. Your season sucks right now. We can't talk about football things because football pains you to talk about. I've watched a franchise in Pittsburgh over the last 2 weeks win 2 games. And you know what we're talking about only, for the most part? Football. The quarterback situation. When it was bad and they were on the losing streak, they lost to Arizona and they lost to Arizona and the Patriots. You know the conversation, the biggest conversation that was had? Mike Tomlin deserves to be fired. Globally, from the big letter networks, from everybody across the board, even the fans, I hadn't heard that conversation over 2 weeks now. Why? Because they're winning. We're having this conversation about your GM and your head coach being out of here because you suck right now. And that's what Vrabel's been telling you. We're losing. It pains me that we're losing this much. And, of course, what do you do in those situations? You divide and conquer. Somebody tries to find their way in, or you try to find somebody out. If this was a losing season right now, do you think this conversation, a winning season, would this conversation be coming up?
Absolutely not.
And you knew this team was bad to begin with. You knew that you had, there was one thing that I remember something. The cupboard is bare. We got to fill that thing up. That's been the conversation for over a year now.
We said rebuild, reload on this.
We tried to say rebuild and reload. Remember that?
Yeah.
We used every R word. We said reset.
Yeah, we did.
We tried to say rebuild. We ain't in no rebuild.
You said rebuild.
I said rebuild. We said reload, reshape, reshift. You're in a rebuild with a coach that seems, from the press, likes his GM, and the GM likes him too. If he gets let go or traded, heck, that means you get more draft capital. I'm into that. Maybe you can go get Arthur Smith. I saw that. Oh, you can go get Arthur Smith. You can go do that thing, but it's the same retread conversation. And the thing that I got an issue with, neither one of these, and I heard people saying this, neither one of these acclaimed, accredited, smart dudes, if you look at the words that they're saying, neither one of them has actually taken ownership of it. They putting it off on somebody else. in the world of journalism, Kayla, and I hate this about where it is now.
Well,
nobody
it's not the same,
does.
Ramon, that's why.
I know, and nobody does the work to actually figure out who's saying it or where it's coming from. I don't think nobody that I saw, and I saw the 4 dudes that said the most words yesterday as far as Vrabel and Rand. Nobody's actually willing to say it came from inside the building.
And here's my other thing, and journalism is a lot different than it was back in the day. And that's because social media has changed. You know, you just want to get things out the quickest. You want to get, people to read your articles. Like, it is different. And I graduated with a broadcast journalism degree. I take a lot of pride in that. And that's not my full-time job now. I'm doing radio, but I've been around a lot of journalists, and it is different because I'm looking at all these articles that are coming out, and it's like there's no clue of like what the actual source is. And really, I start to think, is this just a narrative they're trying to create in New England because they so badly want Mike Vrabel there that they create this narrative that this is a thing? Like, that actually crosses my mind.
Yeah. It's funny. I talked to one of my sources right now, and he was just like, they've actually talked to some people inside the building and said nobody inside the building feel like it's what's being reported.
It's weird to me. And again, Mike Vrabel addressed it. You guys heard him. And look, even if he addresses the situation, there's going to be people who are going to look at that and say, well, how are we supposed to trust that? Because, we've seen coaches in the past say things and they're gone the next day. I think Mike Vrabel's never done anything in terms of, owning up to things, saying things like that you can go back and say, oh, he lied about that, It's a weird situation. It's a tough situation.
It's because you're losing.
Yeah, and it's because you're losing.
It is. Think about all the issues that we've had here since that 2019 season. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can get past Derek being out of the season and thinking that the season is over, right? When Deontay Foreman comes in and runs for 1,000 yards and you still get the first round of the playoffs. Like, nobody mentioned Derek. There was a lot of conversation, well, golly, we can go find another Derek. No. You know what I'm saying? Like, those are the things that happen when you can actually still win through tough moments. This is a tough season. It is. I think it's weighing on a lot of fans. And you want that instant gratification. So. And it should. Yeah. Right? That's what fans want. They expect to have good times. Yep. They do.
And they need that. And they want to win. I get it.
But again, I sit here now on January 4th saying that I don't think there's much to it. Now, if we were to expect him to be let go Black Monday.
When would it happen, Bert? Like, tomorrow?
It would have to happen after this weekend. But I think we can all agree, if the rumors are to be believed, and this potentially could be Vrabel's last opportunity to coach in Nissan, wouldn't you want to take the opportunity to go see him? We have that opportunity for you right now. Be caller number 5 to win tickets to see the Tennessee Titans this weekend host the Jacksonville Jaguars. The end of an era. Could this possibly be the end of Derrick Henry, the end of Ryan Tannehill? Go see them all one last time. Go to Nissan this weekend. Give us a call, 615-737-1045. We've got your tickets for the game this Sunday.
And we've got a great guest coming up. Sam Monson, a Pro Football Focus, will join us. That is next on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Welcome back into a Thursday edition of Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Kayla Anderson, Ramon Foster, Robert Walsh. And joining us on our hotline, it is our good friend Sam Monson of Pro Football Focus. Welcome, Sam. And look, I heard that you might be up for a Podcast of the Year.
Yeah, we're a finalist for the Sports Podcast Awards, Best American Football Podcast, and it's an open vote, which means we can help rig it by trying to get people from all over the place to come and vote for us. So that's what we're doing. We're shilling left, right, and center to get your vote like a politician.
And I love it. So where can people go to vote? Because we have tons of listeners here who probably listen to your podcast as well.
So it's my pinned tweet at PFF_Sam. It's not great as a UI on a phone, but it works perfectly on a desktop. So
perfect.
If anyone wants to vote for us, we would very much appreciate it.
I'm tweeting it out right now. I'm quote tweeting it for you right now, Sam. I've listened to you guys before. It does sound like a good time. When y'all are just talking is good. I just need you to know that, man. Good stuff.
Appreciate it.
Sam, when it comes to this NFL playoff season that's coming right around the corner, is this different, you feel like, than years past?
Yeah, I think it's more open than years past and more open than people thought it would be this year, or at least in a different way. Certainly, you look at the AFC, and before the season, we were running through all these teams that everybody thought would be incredible, and it looked like the AFC would just be this incredible gauntlet of fantastic teams. And it hasn't turned out that way at all. Almost all of the teams we thought would be really, really good haven't been at all. They've been very flawed. Most of them might still make the postseason, but all of a sudden it's emerged as like Baltimore has put themselves firmly as the favorite, and then everybody else is playing catch up, and really the playoffs are wide open because nobody else looks like a true superstar contender. And it's kind of the same thing in the NFC. I mean, San Francisco have been the class of that conference, even with some wobbles themselves and a bad loss to Baltimore in there. And then everybody else has had games where they haven't shown up or they've looked really flawed. So I think the playoffs are wide open because outside of those two teams who look like the class of the conferences, it's really anybody showing up and putting a good run together.
Sam, appreciate you joining us, man. You guys did your Week 18 recap of offensive line, man, ahead of offensive line, and the Tennessee Titans are 32nd. What have you seen from these guys, man, even with the rookie Jalen Duncan? And how would you group this six in?
Yeah, it's been pretty rough for Tennessee. And when you start looking at a multiple-year sample size now, I mean, I think they finished last season 32nd as well by the end of the year. So they're going on, 2 consecutive seasons now of having essentially the worst offensive line in the NFL. And the real worry is that some of the biggest swings they made to try and fix it just haven't. I mean, the move for Andre Dillard to come in and play left tackle, it's easy to critique things like that in hindsight, but at the time that looked like a move that wasn't going to do it. It wasn't going to make sense. I mean, up until last season or up until they signed him, Dillard had essentially been a first-round bust at left tackle. They drafted him in the first round to come in and take over that position, and he ended up losing his job to a guy that played rugby a couple of years ago. Now, Jordan Mailata has become a really good player, but the point is you don't even get given that opportunity as Jordan Mailata unless Dillard opens the door for you, which is exactly what happened. So he had sort of flashed some, little bits of recovery last season, which is why Tennessee brought him over, but there was really nothing in his resume that said he can come in, be your starting left tackle, lock down that spot, and have a huge upgrade over the season. And he's really struggled this year. He's given up more than 10 sacks. He's given up a ton of pressure. His grading isn't good in either aspect of the game. And they've just not been able to upgrade that group nearly enough to make that offense viable.
You guys have in here certain players with red lettering over them as you have their names on here, and those 3 dudes for the Titans are Andre Dillard, Andrew Rupchick, and Dylan Radins. What does it take to be good or to be a starter in this league as far as you guys concerned? Because you got Peter Skoronski and Aaron Brewer, but a lot of people would almost think that you need to move on from Aaron Brewer this year also. So what makes him good, Sam, according to you guys? And I have to follow it up by asking, how do you feel about Aaron Brewer, his free agency here for the Titans too?
Yeah, Brewers at least, I think, had a pretty good year when it comes to run blocking. He's a fascinating player. Like, he is so small. You watch him on tape, and he looks like a linebacker. I mean, Jason Kelsey was sort of talked about for years as being this wildly undersized center. I don't know how much weight Jason Kelsey has over Aaron Brewer, but I think it's significant. Like, Brewer looks incredibly small on the line, but that gives him mobility, and it gives him that athleticism and the capacity to go and make some of these blocks on linebackers and work well out in space. I think that area of his game is actually okay. Pass protection is a bit of an issue, and I think the league is pivoting back a little bit to some of these bigger, stronger nose tackle type players, and Brewer just doesn't have a shot against those guys. I mean, somebody like Vita Vea or Dexter Lawrence, he's giving up 60 pounds to a guy like that. There's no way you can offset that with technique or anything like that. You're going to get run over sometimes, and that's what happens for him. I mean, Tennessee just needs to find some solid bodies. They really do. Like, Skoronski, I think, will be good down the line. I still wonder whether he deserves a shot at left tackle before keeping him inside at guard, certainly with the way Dillard has struggled. But I think he will be one out of the 5 guys they have on that offensive line going forward, but they just need to find some solid players that they know won't be liabilities and try and patch this thing together. And it's going to take every area possible. It's going to take free agency. It's going to take the draft. It might take a trade or two, but you can't have the worst offensive line in the league for 2 years in a row and expect to have anything going well as a team.
Real quick, too, before Kayla go get you, Sam Monson joined us at PFF this morning. But also, if you look at college recruiting, and I know you guys do a lot of college work, a lot of these college coaches are getting big offensive linemen to counter what you're saying about the D tackles and stuff, too. Like, Alabama got a couple guys that's come in this year. It's like 6'6", 360 and stuff. It's very fascinating to watch it transform back over to the big bruising offensive line.
Yeah, you're right. I think there's a general kind of pivot back in that direction. We've had an era of really small, nimble, mobile offensive linemen. I think you're right. We are swinging back towards some of these giant individuals. And I think also some of these guys are so big now and they're so athletic that they don't have the limitations that previous, an Aaron Glenn, right? When he was playing at 400 pounds, he couldn't move. I mean, these guys can move. Look at DeJuan Jones for the Cleveland Browns this season. That guy is 375 pounds, and he's so big and strong and long that even when he's having a rough rep and he's not working with good technique or good hand placement, he's so strong. If he gets any kind of piece of an edge rusher, the guy can't get around him.
Sam Monson of PFF joining us now on RKW. So when you look at these quarterbacks now in the AFC South moving forward, it is crazy to think, they're so young. And Will Levis, we don't know if he'll play this week against Trevor Lawrence, but he did play last week against CJ Stroud. Unfortunately, got hurt in that game. When you look at all 4 of them, and I understand what's happening up in Cleveland or in Indianapolis right now with injury, but who has the best upside moving forward with these 4 young quarterbacks?
I mean, I think after their rookie year, you would have to say C.J. Stroud has the best upside of any of them just because he's looked like a star right out of the gate. And I didn't love C.J. Stroud coming out. I was lowest on him, certainly of the 4 big quarterbacks that we were talking about, the 3 first-rounders and Levis, but also relative to everybody else. I thought there was enough bad on his college tape, certainly under pressure, but he's basically been the C.J. Stroud from that Georgia college football playoff game all the time in the NFL. And, sure, a guy like Bobby Slowick, their offensive coordinator, PFF Bobby, former PFF colleague, Bobby Slowick's helping. He's had a really nice season as an offensive coordinator. But we saw when Case Keenum goes in there, it's different. C.J. Stroud is really good. He is elevating that group. I think you would have to say he's got the best outlook. But from the next 3 guys, all bets are off the table. I mean, Will Levis has arguably looked the best of the next 3. And as we just talked about, it's not like he has an amazing situation around him. He's got a terrible offensive line, and the receiving core isn't amazing. Nuke Hopkins is certainly a very good player, but he's, I think, done an incredible job despite not having an amazing situation.
When it comes to Derrick Henry, a lot of talk here right now is this possibly the last time you see him in two-tone blue? Because is obviously the contract up and probably won't sign him next year as they're trying to move forward with this offense. Is there any way, Sam, you can see him fitting in Tennessee here, maybe in a limited role, or would he even do that, do you think, with other teams that could utilize him?
Yeah, it's tough. I think it depends what his market looks like. He's now reaching that weird area for NFL running backs where, he's approaching 30. He's been an incredible back. He's been the best back in the league at various points in his career. But now he's looking for the next big contract, and teams are going to be really, really reluctant to give him that because at that age, if he's able to overcome it, and he may well, he's an outlier. And anytime that's your starting negotiating point, he's an outlier. The rules don't apply to him. It's just difficult. So if a big contract comes in from somewhere else, then I think he's probably going to take that. It would be difficult not to. But if the market is soft because he is approaching 30 and he's got a lot of wear on the tires, then maybe Tennessee could tempt him back to that, split backfield with Tajay Spears. I think those two guys are both really, really good players and, have been better this year than their numbers suggest because that offensive line isn't good. I mean, if they had, even a league average offensive line in front of them, I think we would be looking at probably the best backfield in the NFL as a duo.
Sam, what do you make of Tajay Spears' rookie year so far? You mentioned him a second ago, and I'd like to know what you see out of him and what he can provide in a main role if Derek isn't here.
Yeah, I love Tajay Spears. I really liked him as a draft prospect. I think he's been fantastic this season. He's been good in all areas as well, not just on the ground, but he's been a really good receiver as well. And he's been good enough that it's been a challenge trying to figure out, well, how do you play Derrick Henry and Tajay Spears and get them both involved in the sort of maximum way in the offense? I think that's probably a good problem to have overall, but it speaks to how good Spears has been this season that it's a problem, that you can't just give him all the touches because you've got a Derrick Henry there. So I think he's been a fantastic rookie. It's a good thing for his career, that he hasn't had a massive workload year one and they can sort of string it out a little bit longer, maybe extend his career. But I think he's a really exciting player for the future of that offense.
Playoffs about to start, next week at this point. How do you view teams going into it? And primarily I have to ask you this. The Dallas Cowboys and also Philly. I look at Philly saying they have all the talent. They have the O-line. They have the quarterback. They got the receivers. Does that usually show up in the playoffs the way you guys kind of calculate them as a team?
Yeah, and they've also got some experience. They went to the Super Bowl last year, so it's not a team that doesn't know how the playoffs work. They're not doing it for the first time. They know how the whole dynamic plays out. Theoretically, they're not going to just melt because they get to this postseason football, but they've been struggling all season long. Them, the Chiefs, the two Super Bowl teams have not been the teams they were a year ago. For Philadelphia, we're reaching a panic point with their defense. They are just hemorrhaging yardage. The back seven can't cover people. The front four aren't getting the pressure they were earlier in the season. I think it's definitely time to be worried about their defense. I think their offense is actually maybe starting to get it together, or at least, as you say, they've got all the pieces. There's no reason the offense can't be really good in the postseason. But that defense, I think, is getting it concerning. And then for Dallas, the story's the same, right? They're a really good team. They just need to prove they can do it on the biggest stage, and they haven't always done that.
Sam Monson of PFF joining us now. Okay, our listeners are going to love this because there's clearly been an issue around the league this season. NFL officiating. It's been a bit of a just disaster, I would say. What is your take on this, and can it be fixed at all, or is this just us thinking, hopelessly thinking, I guess?
I mean, it can be fixed, but the league has to acknowledge it's broken in order to fix it. And I think that's the really disappointing part out of this whole Brad Allen, Lions, Dallas Cowboys 2-point mess. And, you shouldn't focus on the fact that the Lions got screwed on that play, because the drive before, Dallas got screwed by a tripping call that went in the opposite direction that it should have. That officiating crew changed the outcome of that game twice in the final couple of minutes. It was insane. And they'd done that earlier in the season as well in the Kansas City-Green Bay game. They did it twice in one drive. So that crew has made several catastrophic errors in officiating over the course of the season. And if you wanted to fix officiating, there would be some kind of accountability for that. And there would be, a mea culpa from the NFL to say, yeah, that was unacceptable. We're going to look at it. We're going to try and figure out where the breakdowns were, and we're going to fix it. Instead, the NFL is basically blaming the Lions for what happened. And they're outright calling them liars by saying Dan Skipper definitely reported in as eligible. Dan Skipper says he didn't. Taylor Decker says he didn't. Dan Campbell said he didn't. All of the Lions say that never happened, and the NFL is instead calling them liars, reminding them that they basically got too tricky for the play and confused the official, and essentially are burying their head in the sand and trying to pretend like there's no problem. It's never going to get fixed if your attitude to any mistake is to just double down, pretend there's no problem, and, act like somebody else is at fault. That, I think, is disappointing from the NFL. Other leagues will come out and say, when the officiating has made a bad enough mistake that it changes games or that it's an unacceptable level. The NFL doesn't, and it's never going to improve as long as that is their attitude.
Sam, when you look at, also just to finish with this one, I guess, Ryan Tannehill's career here, how would you categorize it, number one, considering what the O-line's been like the last 2 years? I'm not sure if you saw his comment last week, and it was a phenomenal way to dish your O-line. He said he felt like John Wick at the end of the movie last week. Okay, I've never heard that said before, and that's one way to say, yeah, they sucked up front. But will he have a free agency? Will he be a bridge guy also? And how do you categorize him here in Nashville?
Yeah, I think he's had a good career in Tennessee. I mean, remember what the reputation for him was by the time his Miami career had ended. It was in tatters. He was broken. He was damaged goods. Nobody expected anything from him in Tennessee. He wasn't supposed to be a starter. They weren't planning on it. They already put him in the lineup essentially because Mariota had played his way to the bench. I mean, they couldn't keep going with Mariota. And they're like, okay, let's just throw in Ryan. And he ends up playing incredibly well. Now, it was an unusual offense. It's not, I don't think he would have looked like that in any offense in the NFL, but he was a perfect match for what they were doing in Tennessee. And I think really maximized what that offense could do. I think he had a really great run for a few years. And then now, whether it's age, whether it's the decline of the offense around him, that offensive line, he's just not able to do it anymore. I don't know if any team is going to see him as a starter anywhere else, but I think he has a lot of value as a backup and maybe a bridge guy if, you have a rookie that you don't think is quite ready to come in and take that beating right away.
That beating.
Yeah.
Golly, Sam.
Sam Monson, we appreciate you joining us. Go vote for his podcast. Yeah. Do it now. Yeah. We've retweeted the link. Always appreciate you, my friend.
Anytime, guys. Take it easy.
Thanks, Sam.
See ya. He's great. He's awesome. Good stuff from him. We'll touch on that. Plus, we'll open up the phone line, 615-737-1045. We'll hear from you coming up next on Ramon, Kayla, and Will.
Hey, what's going on? It's Will Bowling here for my friends at Lee Company. Is your heating system keeping up with the cold weather of winter? Well, available 24/7, 365. The professional Lee Company team, they're here to help. And look, you probably found out over the last couple of days if your heating system is keeping up with the cold weather. Maybe you went away for the holidays, you were with family elsewhere, you came back. Heating system not ready for Mother Nature. Well, Lee Company's technicians, they're going to perform a 22-point inspection as well as seasonal cleaning and maintenance to keep your home running efficiently this winter. And even better, save $20 on your next heating tune-up visit today. That's $20 off on your home's next heating service with Lee Company. Remember this phone number, 615-567-1000, or go online at leecompany.com for an appointment to keep your home's heating in check. 615-567-1000. Get $20 off on your home's next heating service with Lee Company. That's Lee Company, all you need.
Welcome back to Ramon, Kayla, and Will on this Friday, Junior. Hopefully you're up and going by now. See, like when the bump music progresses to a little bit more upbeat, that's when you're really up, right?
No, that's when Bert's up.
That's when Bert's up.
Yeah, that's when Bert's up.
What time is it? Okay, 8:48.
Yeah, there we go.
8 o'clock hour, baby. We have obviously hit a little button here with people because the F&M Bake Chat, which you can always chime in on YouTube and Twitch.
Twitch, please.
Twitch, please.
I was reading the.
What is going on? I'm disappointed.
I was reading the
the
chat from what you said. I hadn't seen it, Kayla. What we got going on?
It is popping off here on the F&M Bake Chat. We just got conversations going earlier in the hour. We talked about some of the rumors that have been swirling, not in the media here, but media nationally, talking about, Mike Vrabel at odds with Rand Carthon, and Mike Vrabel isn't happy here. Mike Vrabel addressed the media yesterday about that situation and said, of course, I want to be here. Said, this is what happens on social media. I try to keep off of that. But it's still a conversation, and people still have their opinions in terms of Mike Vrabel and whether or not they want him here moving forward. Right now, he's your head coach. And it looks to be that way for next season. Now, what happens after that, we will find out.
Yeah.
So we have asked you to chime in, 615-737-1045, getting your thoughts on this. We'll go out to AG in Nashville.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on the Vrabel Carthon situation, too. Everybody be saying where it's smoke, there's fire, but everybody want to be a fire starter these days, man. And it'd be real hard to listen to, people creating narratives about people's relationships that they really don't know nothing about. And I think I like Carthon's approach of not really saying nothing, because if you come out and say something, man, the wolves, they're going to be ready to eat up everything you say. And I feel like Mike Vrabel, man, I feel like, we bring in a new coach that doesn't have some success. That could be detrimental. Sometimes you want a coach that done been through some adversity, that done had some failure like what Mike Vrabel going through this season, because it's really hurting him what he's going through. Of course, he don't want to be here going through this right now. So I'm looking for Vrabel to have a bounce-back season next year. And one more thing, every bright spot moving forward on this offense has been bought in by Carthon. I know the offense sucks right now, but all the bright spots moving forward, you can say outside of Derrick Henry, has been bought in by Carthon and Vrabel. That's all I got.
Well, thank you.
I had Bert hit the horns on that one. He was right. You were spot on, AG. That's exactly what it is. I don't know. It's fascinating. How far are we removed from Coach of the Year? 3 years or so?
About 3 years.
About 3 years. We go from 3 years of him Coach of the Year here. However you feel about the award, some people are indifferent about it, and believing that he can coach his butt off to where he's no longer good anymore. That's just super fascinating to me, how the switch can flip, to where you don't believe in the guy being capable of developing dudes. I see Roger McCreary developing. I see Tajay Spears developing. I see Aziz look like he had the best year that he's had in a while, able to get Harold back. I've watched him get guys off the sideline and just tell, hey, it's fine, it's cool. I think watching his approach to AG's point about just how you see some good coming out of, like the sound bite that he had with Traylon. If you guys didn't see that last week, Traylon was having, of course, he's pressing. He's pressing hard. And Vrabel just brought him to the side on an experience. So I was like, hey, you can only make one play at a time. Breathe. Calm down. I honestly think this is probably going to it should make him a better coach. Well, how these last 2 seasons have gone. The firing of your GM in the middle of the season. Getting mollywopped by AJ as the cause of that. Then having to hire a new guy while you're already in the process of off-season stuff. Rand wasn't hired until after the fact that the off-season had started because the search was continuing on. It's just, and again, I talked to a very reliable source, and I just straight up asked him, a national guy too, will not give up this source, but a very national guy, and just asked him, do you believe the Rand and Vrabel stuff? And the person said this, I'll read you verbatim what the text says. It says, somewhat, I've heard the rumblings for sure. Check with a few of the coaches there, meaning here in Tennessee, who think it's overblown and they haven't sensed any friction. The coaches in the building haven't sensed any friction between Vrabel and Rand. He said he somewhat believe it. There's smoke. Of course, if everybody's telling me, Ramon, you got blonde hair and I have no mirrors, at some point I'm going to believe I got blonde hair.
Here,
okay?
let me cut some off for you.
You see what I'm saying? Like, if I don't have a mirror to see it, which I'm saying is these people aren't here to actually see what's going on, then it's easy to believe what people are reporting. But he also said he's talked to coaches inside the building, and those coaches can't sense any friction. And if it's anonymous and that's how this reporter reports, then they can tell him whatever the hell they want to. And who do you believe? The coaches that have relayed this message to this guy who's reporting it, or the people who are just making stuff up? And I don't care how credible you think these folks are. In today's social media, it's about reporting without investigating a lot of the time.
Can I ask you something? It's interesting because you've been in an NFL locker room. You're connected with people in the league. Is there truth to, like, a coach's guys trashing another guy that's, start
from
things?
an old tenure?
Is that really a thing?
It shouldn't be because there's such a fraternity. But people rub folks the wrong way in this business, in this interest.
How does it benefit you?
It doesn't. You find yourself out in another job is what happens. There's hardly any benefit from you trashing somebody that you don't have a relationship in this business. It's too close. I've seen Coach Mack connect with so many folks, and myself, people that I didn't know knew me. You know what I'm saying? Like, Hey, man, what's going on? How you doing? I said, man, I remember who you are. Like, everybody knows everybody. So to have malice towards Rand that you don't know, or Vrabel because this or that, it's very fascinating. But again, my source is a guy who's a national guy that said, I've talked to coaches in that building, and they don't sense any friction inside of it between Rand and Vrabel.
That's good stuff, Ramon. That's good stuff. I'm glad you shared that. This conversation, though, is going to continue.
It will.
And, we're going to continue it next. Hour 4 coming up. I'm curious that if Mike Vrabel is here and it looks to be next season, then what do you have to see from him in terms of change moving forward? We'll answer that question and much more coming up next on Ramon, Kayla, and Will here on 104.5 The Zone.
It's Ramon and Kayla here for Window Nation, and winter is here. The air is getting colder, Kayla.
Yes.
Your energy bills will be at all-time highs, okay? So now's the time to replace those windows with 0% financing for 5 years and 50% off all styles of windows, too. So now's the time to protect your family from the elements, lower your energy costs, and upgrade the look and feel of your home.
Maybe you wake up and you're like, I swear I put the heat up to 70,
Yeah.
Last night, and it doesn't feel like it. Go to your window. If you're feeling that draft, probably means your windows are janky and you need new windows from Window Nation. And guess what? Our friends right now can help you do that, because the average installer, over 16 years of experience, over 20,000 windows installed. And guess what? They do it with the professionalism that you want to have. It is the new year. Maybe you want to give yourself a new look at life in terms of your windows inside your home. And look, saving energy bills up to 30%, that's a good thing. It's going to make you feel good in the new year when you're saving some of that dough. So do yourself a favor, do your home a favor, and invest in new windows from Window Nation. Easy to get a hold of them. 866-90Nation, or simply go online to windownation.com.
What's going on? 901. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Robert Walsh. Pro Bowl roster is officially out, and Derrick Henry is the lone Titan on the list. Derrick Henry made his fourth Pro Bowl. This is his fourth bid for the game. And also in local news, VFL and Clarksville native Jalen Reeves-Maben made the Pro Bowl roster as a special teams representative for the NFC. 4 teams did not have a Pro Bowler on their roster. That would be the Green Bay Packers, New England Patriots, Washington Commanders, and the Carolina Panthers. To the Titans injury report, where it was rather lengthy. 5 players not practicing, which includes Will Levis with a foot injury and Colton Dowell, who's headed to injured reserve with a torn ACL. In Jacksonville, it's pretty straightforward. Wide receiver Christian Kirk brought back from injured reserve. He and Zay Jones were both limited, along with Trevor Lawrence. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Good Thursday morning. Thanks for joining us on Ramon, Kayla, and Will this morning. It's going to be a good morning. If you're just joining us in the final hour, put those 4s up. It might be chilly out there, so bundle up as well if you're out and about this morning in Middle Tennessee. Of course, as always, we are brought to you and brewed up by 8th and Roast. 4 locations, 8th Avenue, Charlotte. They've got 2 in the airport now, 1 here in Midtown. 8th and Roast coffee cultivating community by the cup. And you can also find your favorite retail bag at Kroger, Publix, Whole Foods. We love it. It gets us up and going every morning. Alongside our 11-year NFL veteran, our Vol for life, it is Ramon Foster.
Yay.
We've got Robert Walsh back there.
He back there chilling.
He's
doing
back
his
there doing
thing.
work.
Doing his thing.
So if
That's
you ever
all
hear
he
him
doing.
pause, that means he's like answering phones and doing all the work he does back there.
Yeah, he actually do work here. You
He
know?
does.
That's all.
We just don't show him because he prefers us not to.
He's the mystery man.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly who he is. He's the mystery man.
I'm
Caleb.
I'm not a businessman. I'm a businessman.
That's right.
Okay, Jay-Z. Okay, Bert Z.
Right. I'm Kayla Anderson. Will Bowling out today, and we have fired up this F&M Bank chat. We encourage you to call us 615-737-1045 because everybody wants to chime in about the situation with Mike Vrabel. He's going to be here as of right now, next year. But, of course, there's been these rumors swirling around. We'll get to more of your phone calls here in just a bit. But I wanted to give an update because there is a game being played on Sunday, and it's the Titans' final game of the regular season, and it is against a division opponent. So you would like, I would guess, Ramon Foster, to go out, like Mike Vrabel is saying, with class this season and get a win against a rival. And Trevor Lawrence did practice yesterday, but it was limited. And so we don't know for sure if we're going to see him, but with a win, they could lock down the AFC South.
Yeah.
On the other end, Will Levis did not practice, and we don't know what his, status is for Sunday. Do you want to see him, or are you just all good right now saying, let's just put Tannehill in and let him end the season?
Man, Tannehill's more than capable. We've seen him play. You understand what you're getting yourself into, and you also get Tannehill behind center, too. He just needs time, like most quarterbacks do also. Vrabel's message, to close with class is, I think it resonates large if you're a very professional person. If you're just trying to get those 60 minutes over and go home, man, so be it. You know what I'm saying? Just don't get nobody hurt or yourself hurt or be in a situation where it looks bad. I almost look at this one this weekend and kind of say I almost think Trevor Lawrence would sit, and it's just based on this. The Titans know their fate also. There's no playoffs. I also would expect somewhat that Will Levis can sit too. This is a very strong defense. They're actually playing for something. If the Titans do come out and play well, they're going to try to either close out this game as quick as they can in the first half, or it really comes down to a battle. And you also throw Will Levis in the line of fire more and more and go into the offseason with the prolonging, just lingering ankle injury. And you don't need that either, although he should have time to recover. You don't want him having a surgery at the end of it either. But the way you view this one is just go get the job done. There's no reason to lay down. This isn't a business in where that's smiled upon. That's frowned upon more than anything. And coaches know what they look like when they look at the tape too. So it'll be fascinating to see what they do, but that Jacksonville defense is nice. They do have issues also up the middle. So I'd expect this to be a good start of the game. But the same way we've watched this offense the last few games, or this team the last few games, it's good until it's not. And I think other teams are just better ran than you right now, meaning they got better players, the execution a little bit better because of that. And they also understand what it takes to win. This group here has a lot of self-searching this offseason on how they're going to approach being pros here in Nashville. You don't want to find yourself in the misery of the pit of misery, the way Jacksonville was, or the way Cleveland was, heck, even closer than that, Houston, to where losing is expected. I don't think you have that team, that organization here in Nashville that's an expectation for you. Winning is a must, and it's got to turn around soon. So when Vrabel says go out there with class, that's one of those psychological quotes right there, to where players, you don't want to have it be a reason you get cut or not brought back next year because you put out low effort when you know you got a losing bad season.
So you had mentioned really the culture. When you're losing games, it's easy to say like, oh, things are not good, right? But it's just, that's the natural thing. When you lose, it's tough to stay positive. But I would say for the most part, being inside that locker room for the past several weeks, it's been different in the way that, yeah, you're not having as many guys that are there that want to talk about them continuing to lose. There's so much that they can say, but you're not getting the vibe that there's disconnect with who's there. Yeah. And I talked to Daniel Brunskill yesterday, and he's been great with us all season, by the way, just an absolute pro. And I asked him about just how frustrating it's been, coming here and not having a winning season, and more probably negatives than positives, especially on that line. And the one thing he did say is he's like, despite not winning games, it has been a good culture here. And I've enjoyed working with guys on this team that go out there and really do try to give it all they have every week. And I know that sounds annoying probably to fans right now, but when you've got a lot of players that have been brought up and maybe aren't starters and they're kind of just doing what they can, at least you're knowing they're giving it their all. And it might not be good enough in the end because teams you're playing are better at you, or better against you. They're better talent on the roster. But I did enjoy hearing that from him, that he went into kind of detail about the culture and how he still enjoys being with the guys in that locker room. So think of that as well. I mean, it seems negative right now because there's not a lot of winning going on. But I think these players that are here next year, and a lot of them won't be, I think they'll be the right guys here. It's just a matter of, Ramon, you have to bring in and start building this roster that can compete. And to me, that's the biggest thing I have to see from Mike Vrabel this next offseason.
He said that himself. It's, you want to get into a game, there's some back and forth. There's some give and some take. As of late, it's been all taken from the Titans. Like, you want to be competitive. We had a caller last week, and I was somewhat shocked by it. First time I'd actually heard it be said. Which loss was it as of late? It was about 2 weeks ago. It may have been the Colts loss, I think, in overtime. And
not Houston the first time.
Or Houston, one or the other. And somebody called in and said, man, I just want some competitive losing. I was like, what? God dang. Some competitive losing. I think it was the Colts game or Houston the first time around. Some competitive losing keeps you engaged. It lets you know how close you are, but you're still far away because you lost. And honestly, that's somewhat what Vrabel acknowledged the other day, too. Like, if we're going to lose, it can't look like running into the punter. It can't look like sacks whenever we got a chip. It can't look like, we got a third down and we can't protect. It can't look that bad. And I'll be honest with you. Last week in Houston did look that bad.
It looked bad.
Again,
yeah.
When you try to set yourself up for success with something that you're known and capable of doing often, most people think, man, if I got big bodies up front, I'm going to be fine. If I add more big bodies up front, I'm going to be even better. And if I put the ball in Derrick Henry's hands directly, oh, we're great. Again, I can't get over, and I will eventually, but that just showed you where you are as a franchise, man, that you go 2 tight ends, you bring in 2 extra offensive linemen, and you put the ball directly into Derrick Henry's hands in the King Cat on 3rd and 1. I think that was the down and distance, and you lose 2 yards. That's what Vrabel's talking about when he said, I want a little bit of ebb and flow. I want a little bit of competition if we're going to lose these games. There was absolutely none last week.
And even you can look at it and say, well, they didn't have that many penalties, which has been an issue for them this year in terms of getting them into sticky situations. But the penalties they had were crucial.
Crushed them. They continue drives for Houston.
They absolutely did. And that stuff next year, that cannot continue to happen.
No, it cannot. A lot, I think, will change just on the operation and expectation. Like the players who are your leaders on this team, I think, take a bigger stance, have bigger voices next year.
And some have to step up because there's not a lot of leadership left on this team after next year.
They got a good bit of youth leadership. Yeah. I will say this. I've watched.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and those dudes going to have to – Will Levis, he's the quarterback of the future. He's going to have to be more vocal. Tajay has been – he's been A1. I got to give it to him.
He's great.
In Houston this past weekend on the sideline, and I get it. Everybody gets like that. You succumb to losing. You do. You feel it. It sucks. It hangs over you like a black cloud. And I saw him constantly getting up. Come on, guys. Like going to the O-line, going to the running backs, going down to the quarterbacks, asking them to bring it on. It's tough, though.
On the way to break, a little off topic, but do you guys have plans next Tuesday?
Next Tuesday.
No.
You guys don't have anything going on?
Are you teasing us?
I'm teasing you guys a little bit because if you're caller 5 right now, you have plans for next Tuesday. You can go see the Preds take on the Anaheim Ducks. Give us a call, 615-737-1045 to win 2 tickets to see the Preds take on the Ducks. Next Tuesday night, all you got to do is be caller number 5.
You have me all excited here.
We can still go if you guys want to go.
You know what? We need to do a night like that where we just all go. Can we get a box, Ramon?
I'm broke, baby.
Get a box, baby.
I'm good friends with the Preds, though. I might be able to ask.
Well,
closed mouth
if
don't
I
get
ain't
fed.
going to a game unless I'm driving to Boney. That's the only thing I know.
We got to get you on a Zamboni. By the way, maybe we could earn you some extra bucks and then we could all go in a box next Tuesday because guess what's next?
What we got, Kayla?
Thursday threes.
Yay.
Coming up next, we're going to try to win you some money here on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 The Zone.
Speaking of the Preds, man, today, January 4th, is Throwback Thursday. Yes, and the Preds will be celebrating like it's 1998. Vols fans, I know I went at you guys, man, earlier, but hear me out, man. Tonight at the Bridgestone, it's going to be Throwback Thursday. And guess what? The game will be 90s themed and include a ticket pack for the University of Tennessee fans who want to celebrate the anniversary of the 1998 championship. The tickets pack include, and I saw the hat is really cool, a UT and Preds co-branded hat that can be purchased along with tickets at NashvillePredators.com/college nights.
Welcome back into Ramon, Kayla, and Will here on 104.5 The Zone. It's time to win you some money. We always attempt to, at least. And it's hard this week because we've got one college football game to bet on, which, by the way, we have Will's bet. And yes, he did bet on a college football game.
He did?
He did.
That bum.
He did. I'm not surprised. But other than that, we're leaving it to the NFL to win us some money. And y'all, Adam Schefter has already confirmed 18 starting quarterbacks this week. And technically, they're all backups. And there's more to come. So good luck to all of you out there. But we're going to do our best to win you some money. So Robert, really quick, his record. He went 2 for 1 last week. Pretty dang good. Yeah. He's now at 30-21. So he is blazing fires right here.
I hope he votes with his. I hope he bets with his heart again.
You know what? It's winning him money.
Yeah, I hope he bets with his heart again. Okay, I hope he do that this weekend. And you know who I'm talking about? 3 points or less.
Ravens.
Huh. Never heard.
I ain't worried about betting with my heart, sweetheart. Don't worry about me about here. I got my own bets.
Don't worry about me, sweetheart.
Keep it up, buddy.
I'm 28-22-1. I'm impressed with myself. I've never bet in the past. This is my first year doing this.
No, your first year, you've it's been very impressive.
This is my first year too.
Pat on the.
That's a little less than.
No.
How's bragging camp going,
anyway?
Huh?
Flex? No flex?
Oh my God! So this is a little thing. This is a thing we got going on, huh? This morning.
We do not care.
Okay. All right.
Can I make you feel a little better though?
No.
You already his record.
No, I don't want it now.
Well, Will went 0-3 last week.
God, yes.
So he tumbled a little. He's 23-27-1. The bad news, Ramon also went 0-3.
Come on, man.
He's 16-35.
Why'd you laugh so much at that, Kayla?
I don't think I did. Was that me? I thought that was recorded.
Somebody else.
Why are you laughing so much, Kayla? Huh? Boy, bring it. What's that? Yeah, bringing me down just to lift yourself up. That's crazy.
What was his record?
Sometimes.
16-35.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's almost his age.
That's
the ladder.
Crazy. It's crazy. I have a birthday Sunday too.
I
you do
know
have a birthday
you do.
Sunday, but I can't be nice to you till after Saturday. So
yeah,
you better not text me.
I ain't gonna text you a damn thing. I ain't gonna text you a damn thing.
We're gonna be nice to you on your birthday.
No, y'all not.
Yes, we are. I'll see you at the game on Sunday.
Yeah,
I'll have a
you will.
cupcake
I'll
for
see
you.
you
Just wait.
Yeah.
So let's start off with Robert. He's the leader.
Boo.
So start us off.
Yeah, don't go trying to group boo me. Ramon. It ain't a big group.
There's nobody else here to do it today.
For this week, like you iterated, Kayla, it is really tough to pick games where you feel comfortable knowing the quality of players you're going to get because so many teams are trying to preserve their starters for the playoffs. This week, I went with teams that are trying to actively get into the playoffs. I feel like that's where you can trust the level of exertion on their part.
Yeah.
That they're going to try really hard to win these games and not just throw backups in there and throw caution to the wind and what happened, what may. So I'm going with the Bucs here. Bucs, I think they are facing the Atlanta Falcons this weekend. It's really tough for me to stick with Arthur Smith. I know he's probably fighting for his job, but you could also make the same argument for Todd Bowles. Todd Bowles on the other side is probably also fighting for a job. And at least, if not fighting for his job, fighting for credit points going into next year where they don't maybe question him as much. If you make a playoff berth, I think that covers up a lot of stuff. So I trust the Bucs here. I've got the Bucs at 4.5, and I've got them covering that.
And that's versus Carolina.
Oh, Carolina, not even the Falcons. Yeah, Carolina.
I know, right?
Okay, the Saints are playing the Falcons. That's where I was messed up.
No, but I mean, still, you can group them in the same.
Todd Bowles is going to dog walk the Panthers. They have nothing to play for. I got Bucs 4.5.
And great minds think alike because I also have the Bucs who are trying to make the playoffs, and they disappointed me. I think it was last week, but you know what? I'm going to give them another shot. They did disappoint me last week, but I'm going to give them another shot because I think they have something to play for. Like Robert said, they're facing Tupperware and company. So yes, I'm taking the Bucs at -4.5 as well.
All right.
What you got?
You take Will's first since he's...
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. He is above you, technically, even though you both went 0-3 last week.
That'll happen. Yeah.
So I said he was betting on a college football game. The college football game on Monday night. Michigan taking on Washington. And why am I not surprised? He's taking Michigan -4.5.
Yeah. They are the favorites right now.
Yep.
Yeah, they are.
I am also taking Michigan.
Okay.
Is that one of your Thursdays?
It is one of my Thursday threes. It just
wow,
feels
guys,
like
no
this
love
is,
for my home state, huh?
It's not so much that as it is. I just feel like every year there feels like a team that it's their
Destined.
due. It's their team of destiny, and I just feel that way against Michigan.
Yep.
You can say the sign stealing stuff all you want to. You can say whatever their path to the playoffs. I just feel like they have had the year that they needed to have to get here, and I like Michigan, so I got Michigan.
It's their game to lose, is what you're saying.
That's how I feel about it. If they lose, it will be their fault.
Well,
it'll probably be a good game, but if I'm going to bet on it, I'm going to put a little money on Michigan.
I didn't bet this. I didn't put in my Thursday 3 either, but I almost got Washington. I feel like I want to pick Washington because betting against Michael Penix Jr. has not went well for a bunch of people this year.
Right. And it's weird because, like, just as much as they seem to be the team in Michigan to win it all, it almost seems like Washington could be that team too because they've won so many games by the hair of their chinny chin chin this year. And it's like they've just had the luck. So that's why I love this matchup so much.
Great season. Okay. Yeah. Is this because I'm in the last place? I don't get the chance to say my first bet?
Go
is that
on.
What that is?
He's having a convo with Lucas, so you go on and just you
bet,
lay it out there.
Here we go. I'm going my heart here.
Okay.
Pittsburgh and Baltimore.
Gosh, here we go.
Yeah, we in this thing, okay? I'm actually, hear me out. I'm picking money line Pittsburgh, but give me the 3.5 when it comes down to if this is even a possible bet. I want the 3.5 with Baltimore. This game is historically 3 points or less. Them adding that 3.5 to me. So, matter of fact, no, give me 3.5 Baltimore. I think Pittsburgh wins.
Okay, so you're going.
I think they may win by 1.
So you think Baltimore covers the 3?
Yeah.
So you're going Ravens plus 3.5.
Plus 3.5.
Yes.
Okay.
If I can do a separate bet, I go money line Pittsburgh.
No separate bets
dub.
now. Y'all ain't getting that sweep, man. You ain't getting no sweep. You ain't coming in our trap, take over the trap.
We're getting that
you
sweep.
You ain't
That'll
gonna text
be
me,
y'all.
walk in your trap, and take over your trap again, ever again.
So wait, was that plus 3.5?
Plus 3.5 is where it's at right now. I think I go back to back since I'm last. Also, the next one is Buffalo, Miami. I got Buffalo -3. That's the line on that one, too. And the only reason I'm taking them in Miami is because I've actually heard some of their people in Miami say they don't know how they can't beat Buffalo. So because of that, they don't believe they can beat them. I'm taking Buffalo.
Buffalo -3. Yeah. Okay. Back to you, Bert.
Back to me, my final bet. Like I said, I'm sticking with teams that are fighting their way into the playoffs. Another matchup in the AFC South this week. You got the Texans and the Colts. And the line is very close. This is almost a pick-em.
Yep.
But I like the Texans, man. I think the C.J. Stroud is getting back healthy. They're getting a lot of these guys back. Will Anderson's finally out of that walking boot. And the guys that have been playing in Will Anderson's stead, Derek Barnett, what's the other cat on the other side? John Grenard. I knew it was something fancy. Don't you ever give me any credit. That sounds like some ski slope.
John
John Greenard. John Greenard. They've all been playing really well with Will Anderson out, having him back on that defense, going against still a backup quarterback for the Colts. I think the Texans are able to pull it out, fighting for that last wild card spot.
Okay.
I've got the Texans covering the 1.5.
1.5 it's at. Yep. Perfect.
Also, Will Anderson got 2 sacks last week.
Yeah, I did.
So.
Wasn't that back-to-back?
It was back.
Ooh, yuck.
I didn't want to say all that. Kate.
I'm sorry about that. I just rubbed salt in the wound. Okay, for my second pick, I'm going Lions -3.5 over the Vikings. I still love the Lions. I don't know. The Vikings I know that they're kind of on their third string quarterback right now. I know they always feel like they have more life left in them, but I feel like the Detroit Lions are going to get it done. So -3.5 Lions.
That's like my sneaky link team right there.
The Lions?
I like the Lions. I
do too. I like Dan Campbell.
I like that's my team. I like them.
I'm surprised you didn't pick that. Will is going with Giants plus 5.5 this week as they host the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah. Weird from Will.
And I'm going the opposite. So that was my third pick. Ba-boom.
There you go.
That was mine.
Hit him with a pow,
Boom.
Ramon. Pow! I love that. That needs to be your new. Another side note for my bet for the Texans Colts game. That game could be for the last wild card berth. It could also be for Coach of the Year. Lucas and I were discussing who do you guys think Coach of the Year candidate should be? Because
Coach of the Year?
D'Amico Ryan should be
Man.
up there. Shane Steichen for the Colts should be up there. Lucas said Kevin Stefanski, and I know I've got a pro Browns hater in there with me. We can't give him no credit. Because they came into the season with a Monstar team on defense. They tried every option before they came to Joe Flacco. They tried starting the rookie in DTR. They tried starting P.J. Walker. Now he's in a Walker. Now they got to go to Joe Flacco. They pulled him out of the Walker. I ain't giving Kevin Stefanski, Stephen Kafansky, any credit.
I'm with you on that one too, Bert.
I'm riding with Lucas. I think he deserves a shot.
If anything,
Sorry.
he underperformed this year.
Right, they should have been a 17-win team. Come on,
but it's the Browns. I'm surprised they're even in the mix at this point.
Got the highest paid quarterback in the league.
Thank you. And on top of that, they couldn't protect him, Kayla. Kayla, me and Bert can do this, Bert. Come on.
Oh, you're friends now? I thought this was rivalry.
Yeah,
week
we'll
for
gang
you
up
two.
together.
Hey,
the enemy of my enemy is
who?
my friend.
That's my friend.
So your third pick, Ramon.
Oh, it's the same with yours. Philly and the Giants. I'm going for sure picks this week. Philly should beat the dog crap out of them this weekend, okay? Because they give me the 5 points. I got Philly -5. I went for sure wins this weekend.
You did.
Pittsburgh, dub. Buffalo, dub. Philly, dub. Come on now.
All right, so those are his three. We've got Will with Michigan -4.5, Giants +5.5 going head-to-head with Ramon and myself, and Dolphins +9 over the Bills for Mr. Will Bowling.
I'll be a good sport this weekend too, Bert. If Pittsburgh does beat Baltimore, I won't text you.
That's a lie.
It is a lie, and I'm going to ask you about it on Monday.
That's a lie, man. But that's okay. That's okay. I ain't going to be here Monday. So,
shoot.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
You can text me all you want to, man. It's going to say did not send or did not receive.
I probably got one of those.
I'm going to block you so quick.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I went with Philly -5.5, Lions -3.5, and Tampa, who is trying to obviously make their way into the playoffs, -4.5.
Yeah.
And then Bert went -4.5 as well for Tampa Bay, -4.5 for Michigan, and 1.5 Texans.
That's good stuff.
There we go. There are your Thursday three. Let's continue our conversation since we have a little bit of time now, and we hopefully just won you some money or are going to. Let's go out to Mike in Cleveland. He has some thoughts on Mike Vrabel, and I know some strong thoughts. Mike, there it is.
Hey, there he is.
Yeah. What's up, y'all? What's good? Yo, yeah, I wanted to comment on Vrabel. You know, I done kind of lost myself a little bit listening to y'all's picks. I'm praying for you, my own real talk. But
that's the best you can do.
With Vrabel, yeah. So with Vrabel, which the whole situation with hearing rumblings and everything like that, I just wonder because we know Vrabel has more power as a head coach. And with Rand coming in at the time that he came in, the situation that he came into, I wonder if the rumbling is conversations about maybe Vrabel having to relinquish some of that power. I mean, it ain't foreign to this organization at all. We've seen it with Malarkey. I just wonder if maybe it's some rumbling as far as like some coaching staff, because I don't see too many people happy with Tim Kelly. We don't know what's going on inside that building, but it won't surprise me if maybe the rumbling ain't, hey, we want a change at offensive coordinator, and he like, hold up. I pick my coaches. I hire my coaches. Just a conspiracy. The other thing I'm going to be looking for going into the next season is just in-game adjustments. And everybody knows a rookie quarterback can have a second-year slump. So I'm hoping that Levis don't have a huge second-year slump. And the last thing I want to say is all us Titans fans, chill out. We're the same fan base that was screaming for Malik, and now you think that you're able and ready to say if Vrabel should be fired or not. We couldn't even pick which quarterback was going to be the best or needed to have that job. So chill out and just wait for this offseason and pray it's a quiet offseason with nothing major, because a quiet one always comes out as the best one.
Mm-hmm. Doses, Mike.
Thanks, Mike. He should just have a bumper sticker on that big old truck that says "Just chill."
Just chill.
Like that'd be perfect for him.
My only pushback to Mike, and Mike's my dude, is this: do we know Vrabel has that much power? Like, it's speculation because you fired John Robinson and Vrabel is the one with the iron fist now.
Right.
But there's no way to operate. There's no way to communicate with other grown men as if it's my word or no way. It's my way or no way. That's the only pushback. And that narrative has been painted and it's been reported, but it's not been confirmed. Like, do we know Vrabel has that much power? Because a good relationship between you and your husband, you and your friends, you and your coworkers is give and take. And Rand's philosophy and Vrabel's the entire time has been collaboration.
Yeah, that was the big thing coming into this.
I've watched other organizations have this type of conversation, and it's never the same inside the building. Everybody's on the same page. The message is always the same. And there's no room for who's got the most power. I don't know. Again, we're speaking about non-football things. That's because it's not good. It's just a weird take to me. I can understand on the outside's perspective of Vrabel's got all the power. Do we know that? Why do you have all the scouts? Like, I will say this. I think Vrabel has all the power when it comes to coaching. Coaching, he's got all the power. When it comes down to him evaluating players, he ain't got enough time to look at all the tape that the scouts do or the GM does because he's coaching. Coaches coach. The front office handle front office-like things, transactions, the day-to-days. Of course, they take it to coach, I'm sure, and say, hey, coach, we're thinking about this player. What you think, what you know about him? He might do a breakdown of him and see what he do and don't like. Well, I don't know. I want to have a sit-down at some point with him just to ask these questions.
No, and you're invalid in saying that. Rand did, in his introductory press conference, say, my job is to get Mike Vrabel the players he needs to make this team successful. I mean, he did say it is my job to go out there and find those players for Mike Vrabel. And so maybe you can see how it looks from the outside looking in.
No, but even that to me, though, is even saying, like, that is his job. It's to generally manage this squad.
Yes.
And that means, to your point, maybe it was a problem between him and John Robinson to where John Robinson picks injured players. One of them worked out greatly in Big Jeff. But what if it was they had a conversation like, I want some say-so on what our pathway of what a Titans player looked like.
It should be that way. And I almost feel it was not that way when John Robinson and Mike Vrabel were together. I feel like John Robinson, this is just from an outside looking in covering this team for the last 7 years. I felt like GM John Robinson had most of the power at that point. And part of the reason why you get Rand Carthon in here is because I feel like you said they are on the same page for the most part, and they're not always going to be. And I haven't seen anything that says they're not on the same page
because
at this point.
A lot of people make it seem as if it's just Rand is Vrabel's do boy.
Right.
Right, like he's his little minion.
But I don't know if that is the way you should look at that.
In any successful business, it doesn't operate like that. And having conversations with either one of them, I don't get that vibe from them.
I don't either.
I don't know. It's just weird energy that this was never the conversation with John Robinson. It was always in J-Rob we trust, or Vrabel's the best coach in the world. But now that we get Rand in, it's a totally different conversation.
I think, and again, I saw John Robinson out on that practice field more than I've ever seen a general manager on a field every single day. He spoke to the media a lot. And you can maybe look at that as a positive, but if you go back and look at that, maybe that's also a sign of he wanted the
more
power
control.
And it was just him.
More credit.
That's how I look at it now.
I don't know.
In hindsight,
that Vrabel has a lot of power conversation. He's the coach. He's supposed to have a whole lot of power over his players.
He has to coach those players.
It falls on him.
Right. But it should be a collaborative effort, which I do believe is the case right now in Tennessee with Rand and him. So we'll see. Moving forward, because there's lots to be figured out this offseason, and this is going to be the biggest offseason these two have had together. We'll see how it all shapes up. But for this show, well, we're shaping up pretty well. We've got one more segment left here on Ramon, Kale, and Will. We'll take your calls, 104.5 The Zone. Like, whoa.
It's going wild. The intro is long.
We wanted to wait to see.
There it is.
But still, you don't hear it
Yeah.
until a long way in.
You don't get whoa in for a while.
No.
You're right about that.
Welcome back into the final segment of Ramon, Kale, and Will. Hey, happy birthday to Mr. Derrick Henry, making his fourth Super Bowl. His birthday turning 30 on January 4th today.
That's big time.
Props to the king, man.
How old today?
Happy birthday to him. I don't care.
So what? Oh, I thought it said so what. I'm so off.
Good luck. No.
I need to zip it. Just let Stephen A. Smith talk. Goodness gracious. 30. The big 3-0.
Hey.
And that's how all the conversation starts. He's hit 30.
Yeah. And that's all for the running backs. Is always going to be the big number right there. But
That's so crazy. I'm older than Derrick Henry.
I know.
Bro, what?
I'm much
Like just two different specimen of men. You know what I mean? One of us is a hard, chiseled, blue collar, come to work every day and do his best, chiseled Greek body of a Greek god, and the other one's Derrick Henry. You know what I mean? It's tough being this good, man.
Hey, way to bring that all
goodness.
together right there, Bert. Way to bring that all together, my brother.
I'll tell you what, we have had a great conversation with you, the callers, and we'll get to Cousin P in just a moment. But also, just in the F&M Bank chat today, really enjoyed the conversation. I know sometimes it can get a little crazy in here, but I felt like it was good conversation. We've talked a lot about Mike Vrabel and his future here, and the relationship between general manager Ran Carthon and Vrabel. And right now, it looks like this will be your, duo moving forward.
Yeah.
Unless something crazy happens. And again, I want to address this one more time to those who are just joining us. Buck Rising Show coming up next with, of course, Lucas Pansica. And you had mentioned one of your people that you reached out to with all these rumors that are swirling around. Just share that one more time with the text that you got, just so people kind of understand all the things that are out here.
Yeah, from a national guy that people enjoy and love and follow and stuff like that, I reach out to one of my sources just to ask the question, do you believe the Ran and Vrabel stuff? Meaning there's tension, they don't like each other, Vrabel's going to get traded, just to ask that question. And he said, somewhat believe it. He said, I've heard rumblings for sure. And then proceeded to say, checked with a few of the coaches there who think it's overblown and haven't sensed any friction. So that was being reported anonymously. So those coaches could have said, yeah, there's some tight stuff inside this building. I don't see how this can work. And that wasn't the case. Again, he said he can somewhat believe it. Like I told you guys earlier, if you guys continue to tell me my hair is blonde, but I have no mirror to see it, I might actually believe my hair has actually changed colors. But the fact that this person has texted coaches inside of the Tennessee Titans facility and asked them about Ran and about Coach Vrabel and said it's overblown. They don't sense any kind of tension. I'm going to lean on that until, I think Bert said it earlier off air for us. We'll see on Monday if he's fired or not.
Absolutely. And I don't think that's going to happen.
And if that's the case, then you trade for him. Then that's got to happen early too, because Senior Bowl's coming up, Combine's coming up, draft evaluation's coming up. So all these moves have to happen fast. Again, I'm going to listen to the person said he talked to the coaches. Those coaches said there's no tension. Those coaches said it is overblown. Blown.
And I will stick with that because I feel like they got a game to play on Sunday, baby. And the Jacksonville Jaguars are coming into town, regardless of who the starter is at quarterback for the Tennessee Titans. I just hope that this team can send this fan base, by the way, who has been so great at home games this season. They have filled Nissan Stadium. They have been great in the stands, even in a losing season. I hope that this Tennessee Titans team can send them out with a win. Before we wrap up the show, let's go to Cousin P in Nashville. What do you got, Cuz?
What's up, P?
Hey, listen, guys. I'm happy to talk to you all. Happy New Year to you all. Hadn't talked to you since the New Year began. I got a few statements, and I have a question for Kayla personally. So, first of all, I want to see 300 for 30 for Derrick Henry. 300 yards. I want 300 yards on the ground for this man's 30th birthday.
Yeah.
I think he deserves it. Fan base deserves it. Wouldn't that be great to see that, right?
Yes.
So, would love that, especially considering this might be Derrick Henry's last game in Nissan. I mean, go out with a bang if it is, and fireworks and all the glory that man deserves. So hopefully we see that. Secondly, about Vrabel, I don't trust sources that say that things are good, and I don't trust sources that say that things are bad, because you never really know what's going on. I don't expect anyone to come out here and say, you know what, those guys are beefing and it's a problem and Vrabel's out the door. So I don't trust anything. What's the saying? Believe half of what you see and none of what you hear.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we'll see. But I will add that if Vrabel is to be fired, I'd rather go ahead and get it done now while Will Levis is still young. I would hate to see this man go through what Marcus Mariota went through with the coaching changes and having to adjust to different play schemes every other year. So let's get it. Whatever we're going to do, let's stick with it so that this man has consistency.
Pete, as a faithful Titans fan, do you want to see him fired? I think that's a better question, too.
I don't want to see Vrabel fired. I think that Vrabel has demonstrated over the course of several years that he's more than capable of leading his locker room. So I don't want to see him go anywhere. For who? We might get somebody in here that's way worse. It's just you're rolling the dice with someone that's new versus what you have. We're going to have to change the play scheme a lot. It can't revolve around the run game anymore, but give him a chance to see what he can do. That's just
Cousin Pete, we appreciate you. We have to go, though. And yes, I am rooting for the Washington Huskies, even though I'm a Washington State Coug, in the championship game on Monday. Really good stuff from you, the callers, everybody in the F&M Bake chat. Thanks to Sam Monson. Thanks to Coach Mack. We appreciate you. We'll be back for a Friday edition of RKW. But in the meantime, we've got some words of advice from Ramon Foster.
You must remember, good people, all those reports suggest that until somebody actually claim it about your GM and head coach breaking up. But your Twitter fingers and your mic is always hot.
Life is busy. We could all use some extra time in our day, which is exactly why Two Rivers Ford offers mobile service. We'll bring the service to your driveway at no additional charge. Oil changes, brakes, batteries, the certified technicians at Two Rivers will perform basic maintenance on your vehicle wherever you are, so you'll have more time for moments like this. Schedule your mobile service appointment by scanning the QR code or calling Two Rivers Ford today.